Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 75 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth game discussion podcast. I am your host, as always, Brad Ellison. Joining me, I have two fine gentlemen. First, we'll start off with Mr. Colin Moriarty. Colin, how are you?
It's good. Who's this?
Is that Quick Man?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Whew.
We have new things to test you with now.
I know, oh, God.
What do you think of this shirt?
Is that the NX shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get into like a lot of NX stuff earlier on. Like I didn't get into Dragon Quest till like later. So I missed like all like the Prime and stuff like that.
Well, it's good to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me today. It's a bright, sunny day out. It's only in the 70s.
Ooh.
Pool got open this morning.
Oh.
So it was interesting to look back. You know, you're in the backyard all the time and then you're used to the pool being covered and then you're back there. The dogs are confused. Threw the old vacuum in it though before I came down here, start getting that process going. You know, we have the Roomba style kind of
Dustman
pool vacuum. Dustman was the Roomba. This is Splash Woman.
Splash Woman, of course. Yeah.
So he's or she is working hard. It is working hard back there. And tonight we're actually going out to dinner with Gene Park. After the show,
nice.
And going to a concert with him in Richmond. Mike is into the Mike.
It's the Game Grumps guys, right?
Yeah. Ninja Sex Party?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid to look that up. Like I don't want to be having that in my algorithm. Nothing wrong with the band, but just the name. It's not a great name for a band. If you want to search for it. It reminds me of the band which I really love, Live. I don't know if you guys know the band Live.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Lightning Crash. They did the famous record from 1994, Throwing Copper. You would know probably 4 songs.
If I heard it, probably, yeah, I guess.
Definitely. And they're awesome. My dad was really into them, but I never thought about it as a kid, but now I'm like, man, what a fucking horrible name.
Well, you remember the band name Orgy?
Yeah, of course.
Also,
I love, dude, Candy Ass was a fucking sick record.
Yeah.
I love that album. I play Blue Monday on my drums sometimes, their cover of Blue Monday.
That's a great song.
Yeah. Shout out to Orgy.
Yeah, careful with that search though.
Yeah, never searched for them either. Never saw them. I was a fan of theirs when I used to just go to concerts constantly, and it's surprising that I never saw them.
Yeah.
They have a weird sort of like sex 80s weird. I don't know what it is.
They're like the vampires from Blade or something like that in the club or something. That's what they are.
Right.
Also, we have Mr. Lockmort. Lock, how are you?
Hello. I've been looking forward to this all weekend because the games today are so much fun. So I'm very excited to talk with you guys and hear what you have to say about your games.
Yes. And your cat is looking out the window, Ellie. She's checking out the outside world.
She wants to escape, but that's not happening. He's trapped in here with me, or I'm trapped in here with her.
Yeah, I was going to say. Depends on how you look at it.
Yes, you are trapped. All right, boys. Before we get in the show,
how are you?
Well, yeah, Lock.
No,
I'm Lock.
Yeah, Brad.
You?
I'm good, man. Overall, I've had a cold, like slowly getting over it for like the past 2 weeks. I'm feeling like much better, but it's just been very slow.
You think it's
getting
COVID?
Back to normal. No, it didn't feel like COVID. It was a lot of like post-nasal drip and like mucus kind of thing. So it's just been very slow, but I feel a lot better.
Gotta stop smoking. Goes away.
Dude,
right
no,
away.
it's my fucking nieces and nephew. Every time I see them, I get sick. Those little filthy children.
Yeah, kids are gross.
Yeah, man. So that's what happens every time. But yeah, other than that, I'm good, man. Lots of good games. Summer Game Fest. Jeff Keighley's Quinceañera is happening. It's going to be fun. It's going to be sick to see. Hopefully we'll see some good games.
Nice pronunciation on that.
Southern California.
Yeah, I was going to say, we know where you are.
Yeah.
Ellie looking majestic.
Yeah, very majestic kitty. Yeah, she's feeling better now, right, Locke? You said she wasn't feeling very good?
Yeah, I was terrified. She was really sick for like a couple of hours, not even a day. But she was just lying on the floor, and she's never sick, never. But when I went to pick her up, because she wasn't feeling well, she was like, meow. And oh, shit. Okay, so I immediately called the vet. made an appointment for that evening. But later that evening, she was perfectly fine. So
that's good.
No idea what it was.
Feline AIDS.
Yeah.
Well, you never know, but probably not.
If you have a pet and they get sick, dude, it sucks.
The worst. Yeah, the absolute worst.
I assume that's like with children as well.
What is the feline AIDS quote from? Oh yeah, that was Debbie Downer. Do you guys remember that Rachel
Oh
Dratch?
yeah, from SNL.
She said her cat had feline AIDS. It's the number one silent killer of cats.
Oh yeah, Debbie Downer. I thought of Strangers with Candy when he said that.
Oh, that's why can't I remember her name? She's fucking hysterical. And her brother's a famous writer. Why can't I think of her with
Debbie
Candy? Oh, Amy Sedaris, right? And yeah, she's fucking. That show is fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was so
awesome.
weird, dude. Weird ass show. I remember watching it. I was like, what the fuck is this?
And then her brother's David Sedaris, who is arguably way more famous than her, but he's like a famous writer.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Summer Game Fest though. Colin, what are you excited to see? The prospects.
I don't know. It's there's so many. Times have changed for me over the years. And it's not just a product of me getting older or whatever. It's just that there are so many video games being released all the time and so many to play that I really could give a fuck like what's coming out. In some, if you stopped releasing games, as I've said many times, just stopped, that'd be fine. So I'm not really excited to see anything. I'll be excited once I see them. But in other words, I'm not anticipating anything because my backlog, well, I don't really have a backlog, but like the games that I want to play, the things I want to get to, everything's all this new stuff, these mysteries and question marks stand in the way of those things. So it's just different now where during the PS3 era and before that, and even maybe a little bit in the PS4 era, it was like, oh yeah, we're really excited about this, and this. We're waiting for these things as there's weeks without any real releases and stuff. But those days are gone.
Yeah.
And the games are deeper and longer now. They require more out of you. And then you miss so much as time goes on. So things start stacking behind you, not even a literal backlog, but just possibilities and opportunities. The preview stuff is less exciting to me than ever. And it's cool to, like, I saw today, the IO is finally going to show off James Bond. And I'm like, that's really cool because they've been working on it for a long ass time. So I'm sure it's very far along and it's probably going to be great. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I'll worry about it when it comes out.
When it's close. Yeah.
So it's not to be kind of Debbie Downer, but rather I just feel like I'm so inundated and so good. I'm good.
Yeah. You're satiated.
Right. Sure. So like looking forward, what's the point? Whatever it is, and it'll be exciting to see. But yeah, it's not 10 years ago where I'm like, yes, this is gonna be awesome. We're going to see this and maybe we'll see this. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have no time to play the Yakuza or Trails games. It's like, what do you want from me?
That's true. Yeah. Are you going to play the remake of Trails that's coming out?
No, I mean, I've only still played Cold Steel.
Okay.
So I think you play Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then you do something, and then you go back to 3 and 4. So I don't really know.
I'm just going to go in release order. So I'm going to play the remake of Sky when it comes out.
The one thing that I saw that was cool that I didn't know existed, but then I saw screenshots of it, and I was like, was there's that Trails East fighting game. It's like, it was described like that at Push Square, but then it's kind of like a chibi action brawler kind of. It's not, when I saw that, because it's been out in Japan and apparently it's coming to the West this summer. And it's like a crossover fighter between those two games, or a crossover game between those two games. But the way it was being described, I'm like, oh, it's like an Arc System game. That's pretty cool. I don't really know any of these characters. And in East, you play the same character over and over again. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. Christian Adel or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, I was like, oh, that's kind of a neat little thing. But then it turned into this chibi sort of Falcom release. I just had a different thing in my mind.
Yeah. It's called Alternate Saga. Yeez versus Trails in the Sky Alternate Saga. Wow. Yeah.
When I saw the name and then I saw people describe it, I'm like, oh, cool. That's kind of cool. Like maybe a Tatsunoko versus Capcom style.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't to be.
No, was not to be. Lockmort, what are you hoping to see there?
Oh, definitely James Bond. I love Hitman. Those are a couple of my favorite games ever since the first ones. So So I would love to see what they did with that. I hope what Colin says is true, that they're very far along and that maybe we'll see a lot of it.
They have to be, man. It's been years, right?
Yeah, that's true. And apart from that, the rumor is Resident Evil 9, which I'm also very excited for. So I can't wait to see those two. And apart from that, I think this is going to sound stupid maybe, but what they've shown so far of Borderlands 4 looks awesome. So I can't wait to see more of that one too.
Sure.
So those are the three big ones I'm looking forward to. But I'm mostly looking forward to getting surprised again. It's been so long since we've been surprised at one of these shows. So I hope this year it finally happens again with no leaks or anything. Even though Resident Evil probably already leaked. So
I'm hoping to see something from Square. Good. Colin, they got a lot of things cooking.
Yeah, I don't know.
See Tactics.
I mean, that would be fucking sick. But Tactics would be sick. 9 remake, it would be the 25th anniversary this year. I'm sure that's what they were aiming for. I don't know if they're going to make that. And then I mean, we talked about this. Where were we when we were talking about this on
the Sacred Bits?
Yeah, right. Where I was like, the Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 16 stuff to Xbox is really interesting to me too, just because is this ever going to happen? Is it ever, or has Sony really managed to finagle these things to not come to the console? Because I said it would be really nice for the games and good for the players, but also hysterical for it not to happen. Just because it's been like a years long saga. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, that would be funny as fuck. I'm hoping for Kingdom Hearts 4, but I doubt it. I'm used to waiting 15 years for a sequel for those games, so
they had
it is what it is.
I mean, with that's why I just don't expect anything for that or Dragon Quest 12, just because they've kind of already said something recently, and I just feel like that would be an unusual head fake for a Japanese publisher.
Dragon Quest 12 sounds like it's been in trouble from what they've talked about that game and how long ago they announced it. Something must have went wrong for that game.
Well,
it's been a long time.
I think the whole idea was for it to be different, and I wonder if they're realizing that's not what we want. I mean, I'm open-minded to it, and I like the idea of something darker. Dragon Quest 11 was really dark. It got darker and darker, actually, the more, the first time you beat it, and then you have to play it for 20 more hours, and then you beat it again, and then you play it for 40 more hours, and then you beat it, how that game goes. But I was like, oh my God, does this game ever fucking end? Does it ever end? But it was fun.
Game.
The ending was really cool. Do you remember the ending of it? Now, I'm not going to spoil the story, but
I don't remember. I kind of remember some of the
splash screens for all the different games and like the sprites and everything. I thought that was real. And it was like 6 a.m. when I beat it, because I was like, I put it on that night and I'm like, I'm beating the fucking game. And it was just so much more. And I'm like, I'm not turning this game off until I beat it. Like, I can't do this anymore. And then I remember being like, I was actually at my mom's house, and I had like my own little bathroom in her room. So I was like brushing my teeth as the ending was going. And I remember seeing that, like those, I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. Little touch.
Nice little callback.
But I feel like maybe they've been tweaking with it too much, and Dragon Quest is not a series to be tweaked with, in my opinion. That's Final Fantasy.
Sure.
So we'll see. But I agree with you. It's been, dude, Dragon Quest 11 came out 7 years ago. So
God, why do all these things that we love take like a decade to come out? It's so frustrating.
I don't know. They better be good. I'm sure it's gonna be good.
At least the remake series for 7's kind of been on track, so that's good, or efficient, I should say timing wise.
Yeah, I never beat Dragon Quest 3 when it was re-released. I played it almost to the end. It's a very classic Colin thing, and I'm just like, I just don't want. I'm not that. I feel almost bad because I'm such a huge Dragon Quest fan, where I'm like, I'm just not that into this.
Why don't you just bump it down to easy and just cruise through it?
Yeah, that's what Micah did even. And then 1 and 2, I think, will be more I know they will be more manageable.
Yeah.
And what I'm excited to see is if my old walkthroughs get revived, because I have walkthroughs on GameFAQs for those 2 games. And every time an old game comes out that I've covered, they do get revived. And so it'll be interesting if those bump around, see a little 10th grade Colin.
Yeah, I'm excited to finish those. I've never finished 1 or 2, so it'll be cool.
Dude, you can beat 1 in like a weekend easy. And 2 is not that much bigger. So 3 is where it really blows up.
3 is pretty long.
And 4 obviously is like fucking huge.
Yeah.
Then they start getting huge. And I think they culminate in some way in 7 and 8. But in terms of hugeness. Yeah. Yeah,
I love 8. 8's one of my favorites. 7 I played like 20 hours of the 3DS version. It was good.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, this game's long as fuck.
That was one of the last, I think that's one of the last NX releases.
7?
Period. Yeah.
On PS1?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Because by that point they were not releasing very much. And so, Square, obviously, I think that was 2003. So when they finally merged. So And then level 5 does Dragon Quest 8, but by that time it's Square Enix. And I remember that being really weird to see that on the box.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the Final Fantasy X box art, because I bought the game when it came out. I just didn't like it. But that was one of the last games with Squaresoft on it that I bought. That was 2002, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that. 2001.
Yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 1 is Squaresoft. Actually, I should look that up. But
no, it is Kingdom Hearts, but I didn't play Kingdom Hearts,
Yeah.
I probably will be soon, but
hopefully, God willing.
Man, oh man.
God willing. That'd be good stuff. One question for you, Colin, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 tease, do you think? I think it's too early to see one.
Seems a little early to me. The games just came out a year ago.
Yeah.
The second one. That would be cool, and it seems like they're cruising, but no, you don't need to tease it yet. I'm excited. I mean, that's something that I'm looking forward to. But even then, I don't need to see very much. We know where this is all going.
Yeah.
And I'll be very excited to see. Yeah, so they have a lot to get off their plate at Square Enix, no doubt. Plus whatever mysterious new products they might be working on.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because I don't think Part 3 is going to come out till 2027 for the 30th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like, what, 3 years or so since Part 2?
I think that would be very quick. I mean, they are quick, and it'll get, they can use assets, and things are obviously going to be easier, but
yeah,
I think that would be nice, and that would be incredible timing and pacing. That would be like PS3 era pacing for in between games, which would be cool.
Yeah, it'd be good. All right. Hey, if you like the show, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. You get early access to the show, all of our shows. You can write in, all that good stuff. You get some perks on Patreon, like Sacred Symbols Plus. We just put up a betting special for Summer Game Fest, all that good stuff. Colin's been having a lot of good interviews on there. Lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, we're doing good over there. Everyone's doing great. So
yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be doing another Expedition spoiler cast, I guess, in the future sometime as well. Have you finished that yet, Colin? I mean, I guess we'll get into it.
Yeah, I beat
it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I beat it as well. I don't know who else will be on that, though.
Micah too. Micah?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Gene also.
Was Gene on the first one or no?
No. I don't think so. It was Chris,
Dustin,
and Cog, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we could ask Gene if he wants to be on it. Okay.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah, we'll do that in the next couple of weeks for sure. Before I forget everything about it.
Yeah, same. All right. Lockmort. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. This game's been getting some hype, dude. I've been hearing a lot of good things about this video game. Please tell me about it.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of hype lately. It could be a lot more because it deserves it. Mm-hmm. This year has been great for Western RPG lovers like myself.
Yeah,
so
it's been
far.
a good year for you.
It started out, of course, with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is immaculate. One of my favorite games of all time now, really. And then a couple of months ago, or last month or 2 months ago, we got the Oblivion remake or remaster. Sorry, we got the Oblivion remaster, and both games are awesome for someone like me. I love first-person inspired Bethesda RPGs, and now out of nowhere, we also suddenly got Tainted Grail: Fall of Avalon. It's developed by a Polish developer called Questline. I never heard of them before. They made another Tainted Grail game before, which wasn't a first-person RPG. It was more like I don't really know what it was, but they made it. It's like their thing to make something set in this universe. It was in early access for a while on Steam, but it finally released on May 23rd. So I guess like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And the beautiful thing is it only cost $40 on PC. I think on console it might be 50, but on PC it's only $40, nice. which is pretty cool, especially these days. But it combines two of my favorite gaming aspects, which is both Bethesda and Eurojeg in one game, which is beautiful to me. The story and the setting are very original, very special. It's Arthurian legends. So it takes place in the land of Avalon. It takes place 600 years after the fall of King Arthur, which is cool. It's not something we've ever seen before. You are a prisoner who wakes up in a cell, basically, like most Bethesda games start, really. That's probably where they took it from. And you, of course, have to escape the prison. You get set free. And it turns out that you have a part of Arthur's soul in you, in your body.
Whoa.
So you can talk to Arthur throughout the game because he's part of you, and he basically tells you to find the other soul fragments so he can be set free. Because the country of Avalon is in disarray. There's monsters everywhere. There's factions fighting each other everywhere. The whole country is basically in big, big trouble, and Arthur is going to fix it. At least that's what he tells you. But immediately from the start of the game, you get the notion that maybe Arthur isn't really a good guy. Because the person who helps you escape the prison already tells you, like, don't trust him. If you talk to him, don't trust him. That person even kills you. It's part of the intro, don't worry. Even kills you in the hope that it kills Arthur, but it doesn't. So it's a very dark, grim, dark story. It's very mysterious, has lots of depth to it. The story is something I didn't expect to be this elaborate, which is really cool. The art style, this is going to sound stupid, but it reminds me a lot of Elden Ring.
Okay. Like
of
From
course,
Software?
Yes. It's first person, but the whole world is like dark, gritty, it's bleak, it's moody, it's like a mix of gothic horror and almost H.R. Geiger designs that you can find in the environments. So it reminded me a lot of Elden Ring in that regard. There's very little saturation, it's all very monotone, but it works. It looks amazing. You can play it in third person, but that's not really advised. They implemented that afterwards, but it's mostly really meant to be played as a first-person game. So it's basically first-person Elden Ring. And not just because of the way it looks, but also because the enemies are hard. Like, it's a very tough game. It's not an easy game. It's not like a Bethesda game where you swing your sword twice and rats die or something. No. You immediately run into enemies that are way above your level. You immediately run into bosses that are way above your level. So, of course, like in Elden Ring or a Dark Souls game, you have to actually level up. And unlike in Oblivion, the skill tree here are skills you pick. So it doesn't work like in Oblivion, where if you perform an action, it automatically levels you up in that skill. It doesn't work.
Wait, let me cut you off right here.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Have you considerate, wrote in, God, that name, come on, guys. Wrote in, said, oh, Lockmort, how is the leveling system in Fall of Avalon? I'm a sucker for King Arthur shenanigans, and when I played the demo, I was pretty pulled in. I typically employ some kind of magic, but if it's like Skyrim and destruction magic fucking sucks, then I might avoid it. Okay. Sorry, please continue about the leveling.
That's a very good question, because it's more like Skyrim, less like Oblivion, but in a good way. Because typically, I personally prefer the Oblivion type of leveling, where if you do something, it levels up. Like, your skills level up, because that basically builds the combat around you. But here you pick your skills like you do in Skyrim. However, the skills here actually matter. So it's not like if you level up and you pick, like, let's say a combat skill that you get plus 3% dodge or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You can actually pick new skills. So, for instance, the melee combat kind of works like Skyrim here. It's janky, Eurojank, Bethesda jank. You can have dual weapons. You can have shields and weapons, or two-handers. You can have special weapons that require different skills, which is where the skills come into play. For instance, let's say you find a sword that requires +3 dexterity, so you can't really use it at the beginning when you find it, but if you keep it, you can use it later. Now, the melee combat in this game is great, but extremely janky. Too janky, even for me. Like, it works the same way as in Skyrim. Like, you hit something and your sword basically floats through the air. You can feel it connect, but not really all that well. The game that actually did that way better this year was Avowed. That's another Bethesda inspired game that came out this year. The melee combat in Avowed was exceptional, fantastic. It excelled in that regard. And I think Tainted Grail kind of drops the ball in the melee combat, but it makes up for it in the magic system. Because like that person asked, the magic system in Skyrim was very bare bones, right? You have like your destruction and you basically shoot a fireball. That's it. Or you blast fire from your hands or lightning or water, and that's basically it. But here, the magic system is incredible. You can dual wield spells, you can shield spells, you have weapons and spells. If you upgrade your spirituality, which is basically your mana or your magic here, you can summon a lot of animals or other demons or whatever that aid you. But you can also have fireballs, ice, lightning. You can somewhat manipulate your spells. There's such a variety in them that it makes it so special to use the system here, because it actually works really well and it connects to the enemies. Unlike in Skyrim or most other games that use magic in first person, it never really feels right. But here the magic does really feel right. So for me, I quickly switched from melee to magic, but I also know a couple of people who stick with melee and they say it gets way better. So it's just a preference to what people want to do. I also tried archery and dodging and playing as a thief. Also works perfectly fine, but that system is always the same in every game, right? Like you can shoot arrows from a distance. It works. It's nothing special, but it works. What makes it really cool, however, if you take the magic route like I did, is that you get full battlefield control. There's a lot of times where you fight multiple enemies at once, and multiple enemies that are pretty strong. So you can freeze one and then summon an animal that takes care of the other one while you concentrate on the one in front of you. So you basically get control over the whole battlefield, which is really cool, which again doesn't work in most other first-person RPGs, but it does work here. But the best part about this game, and the best part about every Bethesda-inspired first-person RPG, of course, is the exploration, at least to me. And there's something to find in this game everywhere, around every corner. At the start of the game, again, not a spoiler, it's in the first couple of hours, I found this lake, and the lake was filled with blood. And normally that looks stupid, but because the game has such a gothic horror vibe or Elden Ring vibe, it looked so cool. It looked so special. So I figured, well, let's see what's at the bottom of the lake. And I found this hidden temple at the bottom of the lake. And I entered, and there was this guy who gave me a quest and wanted me to duel him. And it just keeps expanding, finding new stuff. There's also skill checks in the dialogue. It's not as deep or elaborate as in New Vegas, but there are skill checks. So you can also level those up, which is really cool. So +3 dexterity helps you avoid a question. Can you help you avoid a fight? Which is really cool. The quests themselves, some of them are fetch quests, of course, but there's also way more elaborate ones that sprawl into new ones. There's different factions and sub-factions you can choose between. When you get to the first town, for instance, it's huge. It's not like a little town like in Skyrim or even Avowed or other. No, the town is huge, and there's like a ton of people, a ton of characters. You actually get to know them too. Like you talk to them, they give you their little exposition, of course, they give you a quest. But after that, if you get back to them, they give you more quests and they talk with you and they try to understand you. Maybe they become enemies. Maybe you befriend them. It really makes you more familiar with the characters, which is not something a lot of games do right. But for some reason, Tainted Grail does do that right, which is amazing. It's also the music in this game. You've both played The Witcher, I assume. Yeah, you've both played The Witcher. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of The Witcher. It's Slavic, it's Polish, of course. So the music reminds me a lot of The Witcher, which is cool, which works. It's not as memorable as, I want to say, Oblivion, or not as memorable as Skyrim or other first-person RPGs, but it works and it's beautiful. They did a great job here. What really made me appreciate this game the most is the exploration. It's hard to explain if you don't see it in front of you, but you see something in the distance, you can go there. You could, like Todd Howard said, remember when he like presented Skyrim, like you see the mountain, you can go up the mountain. It works the same way here, but because it looks so different and because the art style is so unique, apart from the typical fantasy setting, it makes for a very eerie feeling you get when you try to explore. And also because the enemies are so hard. At the start of the game, for instance, you can find this bandit. I found at the top of a tower, I found this bandit who was like way harder for me. Like I couldn't do it. But then I found a way to push him off the tower. So you can also use the environment to your advantage. So it's really cool. I would definitely recommend this game if you play on PC. It's janky. There are still a lot of issues, still a lot of bugs, but it works really well on PC. On consoles, however, I haven't played it on consoles, but I've heard from my friends who did play it on consoles that there are still a lot of issues. So I don't know if I could recommend it on consoles. But on PC, if you're at all interested in first-person RPGs, or if you like Arthurian legends, or if you haven't played Oblivion or KCD2 this year, this game might blow you away.
Someone like me, Locke, who has some experience with these games, but not a ton. So, like, let's say for me, for instance, I need to play through Oblivion still, and this sounds really cool too as well. I guess, what is this game doing to stand out from something like Oblivion to maybe have me play it over that?
Sure, it's all about atmosphere.
Okay,
which sounds
that's
stupid.
That's
maybe.
a big thing.
Yeah, because when you play this, you know you're playing a first-person RPG, of course, but you're never, at least I was never thinking about Oblivion or Skyrim, because the land, the arena it's set in is so different. The characters are so different. Of course, you're basically doing the same thing, but it's like when you're playing a platformer, yeah, you're jumping and jumping. It's the same thing, but things look so bleak and different here, and the story is really engaging and special and mysterious, with choices too that matter, that I think that is the major difference, at least to me. To other people, maybe it may be the combat, or it may be the magic system, but to me it was mostly the sense of exploration, which is really immaculate in this game. They did a fantastic job, which is not easy to nail.
Yeah. Does the world design kind of feel similar to like Oblivion, for example, or Skyrim, how it's laid out?
Not really, no. Because in Skyrim and Oblivion, you basically have the whole map. I don't want to spoil it, but maybe you have multiple maps here or something. Or maybe there's multiple lands or multiple areas you can go to.
So it's maybe more Witcher 3 style?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Witcher 3 is on a map, isn't it? A big map?
It's on multiple maps.
I don't even remember that.
3 maps.
Yeah.
Oh, like it's like segmented into.
Yeah.
God, I don't remember that at all. In my mind's eye, it's like pardon the pun. It's like a truly open world game, but it's not. So
it's like. Oh, go ahead, Locke.
Well, the hubs, the areas are so huge that you can almost say that there's multiple open worlds.
Right.
Really. Because they're not really hub areas. They're so big. Same with Tainted Grail here. The areas are so big that you never like when I got to the end of the first area, I thought, oh, that's it, cool. What a brilliant game. But then, whoa, there's a whole new part to it. So the same thing happens in The Witcher. But in The Witcher, I kind of saw it coming. Here, I didn't see it coming. I kind of spoiled it now, which is maybe not such a good thing.
It's fine.
But maybe it doesn't matter. The game is bigger than you think. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, sure. Let me read this from Nico. Cheers, fellas. Love the show. Oh, yeah. Cheers, fellas. Love the show. This question is primarily for Locke. Since you're playing Tainted Grail, do you think if I played KCD2 and Oblivion Remaster this year, I should wait for a while to play Tainted Grail? The game looks awesome, but I don't want to risk diminishing the experience by having played 2 other first-person RPGs so heavily recently. P.S. I live in Los Angeles, so would it be weird if I were parked outside Brad's house for a week while Dustin is in town? That's all, boys. Keep up the great content. Yeah, because I don't live in LA.
Yeah.
So by all means, go for it.
It would be, but it is, a stone's throw away, and why not just do it now?
Why not now? Yeah. Why not? Yeah. So what do you think, Locke, for Nico? Do you think Nico should hold off for a bit?
If you have played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Oblivion, it's tough for me to say because I have played those games too earlier this year. Mm-hmm. If you love first-person RPGs, no problem. You're going to love this one too. If you're kind of sick of them, which only Nico can know, of course, if he's kind of sick of them or he's seen the genre by now, I would maybe wait a little. But if you have to pick between the 3 at this point, I would go for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, of course, because that's been the longest. It's the most polished at this point. Oblivion, for me, it worked pretty much okay, but for a lot of people still have issues with it. They still need to patch it. Mm-hmm. And Tainted Grail, especially if you're on console, maybe hold off if you're on console for this game. Maybe they'll probably patch it within a couple of weeks, but it does need some patches. So yeah. No, I would if you have to pick between the 3, go Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and then pick the other 2.
Okay. Colin, I know you like some Bethesda style games like Fallout 3 and stuff like that. How's this sounding to you?
No, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it looks great. I was looking it up on Steam. It's on PS5.
Mm-hmm.
It has 3.8 thousand ratings with a 4.47 star rating on PSN. That indicates that it sold a lot of copies. So it's doing pretty well. I also looked up for you, Locke, that the original game was called Tainted Grail Conquest. It came out in 2021, and it is a deck building roguelike RPG. And so it is currently $3.99 on Steam. If you want to, check it out.
Oh, damn! Yeah, I will. It's
awesome. 80% off. They say.
Wow.
Yeah. So it looks cool. I don't want to say that Dungeons and Dragons fantasy style stuff has to do something truly special for me, but it is wearing its welcome for me as something that would appeal to. And again, this goes into the broadness of just releases generally. You're always going to have a game like this. It's like Locke was saying, there have been 5 or 6 of these this year already. When you think about Kingdom Come Deliverance, Avowed, Oblivion Remastered, this Tainted Grail game. I'm missing one for sure. I can't remember. But the reason Fallout 3 was so special, in my opinion, was because it was so weird and unique. But now a lot of people are inspired by those kinds of games, and so they're doing them, and that's great. Because there's a very similar to Souls. There's a huge, seemingly insatiable appetite for these games, and so why not make them? They're just. It's just not for me. Fantasy. I really like fantasy a lot. It's just I just want it in different styles.
I get that, dude. Yeah. It's weird because that's kind of me with post-apocalyptic stuff. Where I'm just like, but if you do something special, right? Like The Last of Us, for example, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm much more attracted to the post-apocalypse, as people know, into the dystopian stuff. Probably because I want it to actually happen. But I'm incredibly satiated with those games too, in a lot of ways. I don't know, man. I don't want to put myself in a corner, because when The Witcher 4 comes out or something like that, I'll play it. And I'm sure there'll be a bunch of fantasy style games in between that I'll play. And by the way, I'm not talking about like swords and sorcery sort of stuff, but just true grounded fantasy. It's a little different. Sure. Like I look at something like Final Fantasy 16 is a little different than that.
Sure.
And so on. So it looks great. I've been looking at videos of it and stuff. It's just, not a game that I would probably check out.
Well, what about later this year, The Outer Worlds 2? Is that something that might entice you to play more? Because it's also a Bethesda game, but it's more like science fiction-y.
Yeah. I played the original Outer Worlds. I never beat it. I liked it. I wouldn't play the sequel without having beaten the first one. I don't think so. For now, it's a non-starter. There are a series of games that I'm looking forward to this year, but not the ones that people probably have their eyes on. I want to play Mina the Hollower.
Me too.
That's apparently supposed to be at Summer Game Fest, I hear.
Oh, okay. Dude, I played that game like 3 years ago. They sent out a demo, and it's still not out. That game's...
I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. I've said it a million times ad nauseum. Like I love Yacht Club. I know those guys over there. They're very, very... I wrote the intro to their art book for Shovel Knight. So we have a friendship, and I appreciate those guys, but their pace really annoys me. I don't know like what they're doing.
Yeah. Shout out. All right, cool. You said this was $40 as well, Locke?
43 on PC in Europe anyway. And I think
50.
It's $44.99 on PSN right now.
Okay.
So maybe,
cool. Okay, so
which is an interesting price point. That's a new price point.
Love to see these different price points.
Yeah, extract a little bit of capital. That's good.
Yeah.
For that price, definitely worth it too. If this was like $80 or $70, it would be maybe hard to recommend, especially with the console performance. But at $45, that's a great price for what it is.
Yeah. Very cool. Speaking of very price points, the game I've been playing, Elden Ring Nightreign, $40 game. Very strange. This is a very strange game altogether. Everyone knows Elden Ring. What Elden Ring is, very open world RPG. This is nothing like that. It is not a slow game. You're not going through the world solo. No, you are with other players. You can play solo, I guess, technically. And you're sprinting through this game. This has been a weird experience for me. I'm enjoying the game. I'll just say that overall. I've been having fun, and I think about it a lot. I think about playing it a lot, which has been really cool. Like that. I love that feeling. I'm just like, I want to play this game right now. So that's been sweet, but Elden Ring Nightreign is such a weird game. It's so weird. So if anyone doesn't know what Nightreign is, it is like a co-op roguelite battle royale-esque kind of game without the PvP, I should say. So how the game works is you are dropped into a map with 2 other players, or 1 if you play offline, you can play by yourself. And basically you're rushing through this amalgamation of kind of Limgrave from Elden Ring. I forgot what it's called. It's called like Limb something. It's something different. And you're running through locations, leveling up really quick to fight bosses pretty much through days. The game is split, a match or round or game is split up into 3 days. Day 1, day 2, and 3. And after each day you fight a boss. So basically every day you're running through this map, you're collecting items, you're leveling up, you're trying to get stronger to fight the boss and move on to the next day. But it's so weird because this game is, once you like play it and you really start to dive into it, you start to realize how like much depth there is to kind of it, especially like planning your route is such a big part of the game. That's like deal breakers if you're going to make it to the end. Of course, player skill could definitely carry you a long way, but having knowledge is a big part of the game, and it's been fun for me kind of learning these steps like that. Like, for example, some of these locations you want to go to is like you want to go to them maybe in a certain order. You maybe don't want to go there immediately and pass by other things. You kind of want to hit targets or spots as you go on your way. Like, for example, one of the places you can go to is a church, so you can get an extra healing flask. You go to like this castle, maybe you'll get a weapon drop, stuff like that. And of course, there's random aspects to it, so you don't know exactly what kind of loot you're going to get, which is fun, and that adds some replayability to that. But what's cool about this is you are also classes in the game. You don't make your own character like From Software games you usually do. You're playing as very specific characters who have their own lore and all that kind of stuff. I think there's 8 classes. There's the Wilder, which is like your basic class, like your basic all-arounder kind of knight. There's a archer character that's really fun. It's probably the best bow character they've had in any From Software game. The bow feels really good in it. There's the samurai character who has pretty much a stance you can go into that it turns you into Sekiro. You're literally doing parries from Sekiro. So that's really fun. There's this sorcerer class that can mix spells together to make like a spell cocktail that'll do different effects. There's like a summoner kind of necromancy class. There's a lot to choose from. And each of these classes kind of have their own skills. Like you have one normal skill and one ultimate. So for example, the Wilder, who is like the all-around guy I was talking about, one of his moves is like grappling hook. So you can use it to like traverse, obviously, like faster across the ground. You can't like hook shot like Batman or something like that, but you can use it to like jump further and get like an air attack. You can use it on enemies to launch yourself at them, or if they're smaller, pull them towards you. And his ultimate is pretty much the arm cannon from Sekiro. It's really weird because this game is them recycling assets, and I think that's a really smart move. I think it's foolish to waste a lot of your assets. Like, one of the best asset flips ever, or use of assets, is Majora's Mask. And it's like, that's all just Ocarina of Time assets. And they did a great job with that. So I think it's really smart From Software to do that here. You definitely see the DNA of many of the characters there. I'm like, oh, that's exactly the animation that you do in Sekiro and all that kind of stuff. Which is fine with me, but people get hung up on everything. Like the God of War boat animation. Ridiculous. Stuff like that. But yeah, you have these classes to choose from. You could play... If you're in a group, my throat is dead. Hold on. Ugh. All right, there we go. See, I told you I was sick. Ugh. Anyways, yeah. It's cool though because you can all play the same class. It's not like one person can only play one thing, so you're never locked out of what you want to play. Synergy can be important though. Like if you have all melee, some bosses maybe put down some like AoEs, or it's harder to get close to them, so it might be good to have someone that can pelt them from the distance and stuff like that. There's some fun bosses in here. There's some bosses from Dark Souls that they showed in the first trailer, so it's cool to see some of them come back. I'm not exactly sure how that works lore-wise, but who gives a fuck, I guess, at the end, because From Software certainly doesn't seem to. There is a story in the game, though, and there is like a narrative. It's interesting because each character you can play as, they have their own quest lines. Oh, and you can unlock. There's like a journal in your hub, which is the round table hold from Elden Ring, It's just kind of reworked a little bit, but everyone's hanging out in there, and you go back there in between matches. And by playing this character, you can unlock new quests for them. And you go to like a little journal that tells you about them, and you can like start this quest. And some of them maybe or like require you to do something in a match, actually. Like, here's this location, go here, kill this guy, and you'll get a reward for it. Or some of them maybe take place more so in the Round Table Hold itself, so you don't have to actually go out in the world. But each of these characters have their own narrative, so if you're into that, and of course there's a narrative about why you're here and fighting all these guys and all that kind of stuff. So if you like Elden Ring lore and From Software stuff, there's still some of that here, which is really cool, and I appreciate that kind of stuff because it makes going out on the map more interesting, especially when you have a quest with everybody, stuff like that.
The world is called Night, or what? Wait, I just had it up. Where'd it go?
The Night Lords is what you're
Limveld.
Limveld, that's what it's called. Yeah, it's Limgrave, Limveld. Yeah, it's like a amalgamation of it. The thing with the game right now is it takes place on one map, and the map doesn't really change at all. Well, it does change in this sense, but it's like just one map. It's a big map though. But there are, as you progress through the game, more stuff kind of unlocks, like random, I forgot what they're called, but like random kind of like effects can happen in the world. Like for instance, right now where I'm at, there's like a volcano part on the map and stuff like that. So now when I'm playing, there's like lava and extra bosses down there, but I think that environment can change over time. I'm not exactly sure how that you can switch it manually, but I haven't done that yet. But there is some changes to the map and like some enemies down there, which is interesting. There's also a lot of secrets I still don't know about. I saw a meteor crash when we were playing one time and like land somewhere, and I was like, oh shit, dude. Oh, cool. I wonder what's over there. I'm thinking it's Radon. I don't know if it is, but that's just kind of what Radon did in Elden Ring, which would be very interesting. But yeah, it's been a strange thing running through an Elden Ring game, picking up color-coded loot for stuff like that, and these weird like battle royale aspects kind of that you're familiar with. But there is no PvP in the game. It's purely a co-op game. But this game's tough. This game's going to beat your ass. And long runs are usually like 30 minutes. And I've gotten to the final boss plenty of times and just wiped with the group. So,
oh, damn.
It's not an easy game for most people. I know there's people out there clearing it solo because there's freaks out there. But like I've been playing with Dustin, and I played with Ben, and I played with Jimmy, our friend Brandon. And it's been tough. It's a tough run. So a lot of it has just been knowledge and figuring out the optimal routes right now, which seems to be, but I can't deny it's really fun partying up with your friends and taking down some ghouls. I did play online with some randos, and of course your experience will vary depending on who you get, but I did finish runs with randos completely, so that was really good, but it just depends who you get. So I guess, but yeah, I would recommend if you have friends to play with them, obviously. A big bad thing about this game though, I think, is there is no crossplay, which is a huge mistake in my opinion.
Yeah.
This game is on a ton of platforms, and you're just dividing up your fan base. Like, I think this game is on PS4, for God's sakes.
It is on PS4.
So it's like, dude, I don't know what they're doing. I'm playing on PC, so I think the player base will be pretty good, healthy there for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, why, dude? Like, Bandai is publishing this game. Like, you guys, From Software has bad technical chops always. So it's very annoying, but I really wish they figured that kind of stuff out. But I don't know, man. It's a weird ass game. I could see a lot of people not liking this game. People who maybe are more fans of the traditional From Software experience, and I totally understand that. But to me, this is a side game, and to them, it is clearly a side game. They're pricing it as a side game right now.
Oh my god! So, it's like a. The more I read about it recently, the more I realize it's like a. I mean, it always was, but it's like just an asset flip. You know, like, and
yeah, absolutely,
good for them. Because they usually doesn't seem to do that kind of. Bandai Namco definitely does, but they don't seem to do that very often. So I'm not so mad about it.
Well, they reuse assets all the time, but this is by far like the biggest example of like.
Well, I should be clear. It doesn't seem like they mine their games to like iterate with a 1.1 version of it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not so mad at them for doing this. By the way, just so you know, it's. I always find this interesting. I always go to PSN profiles for a lot of different things because it's a great resource. But if you go there, you can see like the most played games, and it's really interesting to see it because this is like the hardcore PlayStation fan base that has to opt in to PSN profiles and is not the more casual or one game style gamer that will play Fortnite forever or whatever. So it really like narrows down to people like us, and this is the second most played game right now on PlayStation. So
wow,
it's just behind Expedition 33.
Wow. Yeah, I was trying. It did well. I saw on Steam for a while when it came out. Like it peaked at it peaked at 300, over 300,000 players. So
that's big. Yeah,
it's doing pretty healthy. But yeah, this is a very specific game. If you're playing solo the entire time, you might not have as much fun. But if you're playing with your friends, like every co-op game, it's much more fun, in my opinion. But there is solo. If you want to play that, you can do that by playing offline. I think they just put out a patch recently to make it easier for the solo experience. So that's something to keep in mind.
You would think that would be a bigger thing for them, considering the nature of their games, that would be like a priority.
You would. It definitely. Well, it's like the way they intended you to play the game is with other people. I would say like that's the main focus of the game. To me, like single player is just kind of like, sure, here you go. But that's not like our vision with the game, I suppose.
Right, like Helldivers.
Exactly.
You can do the best you can do, but you're not going to get very far.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to be very difficult. You're not going to do it on high difficulties or whatever. I get it.
Yeah.
What's the goal? Is it like, do you keep the stuff you find, or what is
so
the goal here?
As a roguelite, there is some sort of long-term progression. Like, I'm kind of torn on it right now because I think the progression doesn't. It's not like super. You don't feel necessarily super strong, I guess. Like when you're like making progress, you don't feel like your character progression outside of a realm is not super strong in the sense that like, you don't feel as powerful. There's a random aspect to it, I should say. So basically what you do is you play and you collect after the match, you collect these things called relics that you equip that give you passive effects. And you can have 3 equipped at a time. And depending on your class, there's class specific ones you can get, but they each have a different color slot for them. So you need like a blue relic for a blue slot and stuff like that. And these could be things from like, hey, you just get a flat 2+ dexterity bonus, or killing enemies heals your allies, but not you, stuff like that. There are small things to get, but none of them have been like game changing very often. I've definitely done a lot of runs and I feel like I've gotten kind of nothing from them, from the relics themselves. You do get a currency at the end of every run, which you can use at a shop to buy some relics. And there's like a couple you can buy, and then there's one that's like a gacha one where it's just like you get a random one, and that's usually what I do. But you can also later on, as you progress through the game, you can buy stuff like skins for your character and some stuff like that, and they're pretty expensive, so you want to save up for all that stuff. But I'm having a lot of fun playing it, man. I think it's got some problems. I think it's good overall, though. I'm having a good time. But it is just frustrating in some aspects, in the sense like no crossplay is a dumb decision to me. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. One thing I will say is, so when you go out on a run, when you start the game, there's only one that you can go for. The end boss is always the same at the last day, always. But the other bosses you get are random. To an extent, I feel like depending on what levels you go to, you'll get 2 or 3 different bosses depending on the day, stuff like that. So, for instance, Tree Sentinel maybe has like a 33% chance to be your boss on this day or something like that. So you will kind of fight some of the same bosses over and over again. But as I've gone through the game, more and more newer bosses coming out that I have never fought before. So that's really fun. I think there's like 90 something bosses in the game or something like that. Ooh. So there's quite a few. But the last day bosses, which are all new bosses, by the way, completely new.
Oh, that's cool.
They are, they're pretty damn tough. I'm kind of torn on the sense that you fight them all in the same type of arena thing, which is kind of boring to me, but I understand the reason why. It's just probably for balancing to keep it consistent. Because like this battlefield you're on is pretty big. Because some of these bosses like move very far across the map while you're fighting them, or run really fast. Like, for example, the very first big boss of the game is this big 3-headed Cerberus dog that has like swords that swings around at you, and like they go really far and all that kind of stuff. But it splits up during the fight also into 3 separate dogs and kind of attacks everyone on their own. and they could all aggro on one target at a time. You could tell because your target gets like a red circle around them. That means the boss is targeting you, so everything's going to kind of go towards you. So you got to be really careful during that circumstance. One cool thing is if someone goes down, you can revive them by hitting them. There's like a little like health thing, and once you get it all down, they come back up. But the more times you do go down, the longer it takes to get them up. So that's something to keep in considerate. But like if someone goes down, you can use stuff like even your alts to help get them up if they do a lot of damage. So there's a lot of strategy in that kind of stuff. There's this one cool character called the Duchess. She kind of uses like a dagger and magic. She has this stopwatch ability that repeats some damage that was done. So if someone does like a big crit on a boss or something like that, she can do it really quick to replicate that damage that was just done on the boss. So there is like a skill cap with all these characters, which is a lot of fun. You definitely feel like the more you play these characters and the better you get. You're like, oh, nice. I'm starting to pull really sick stuff off right now. So there is a lot of satisfaction in that. And of course, there's like characters that are more easy. There's this bird boy. He's literally like a bird boy. He's like an eagle or something like that with armor and everything like that. He's like a more tanky character, and he's just all about tanking hits and stuff like that. While on the other hand, the Sekiro character I told you about is more like, yo, you got to land these parries to really like be effective on these boss fights and get counters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a fun game. I'm definitely going to play more. I think there's maybe 10 or 8 levels or missions, and I've beaten 2. So I still have a ways to go. Like here, let me look at my Steam time right now for this. And of course, this is going to vary for who you're playing with or how you're playing with. I have 19 hours played right now. I've only beaten 2.
Good. Nice.
So, but like I've been playing, helping out friends and stuff like that, of course, but seems like pretty good content for the price point, in my opinion. They're going to add more DLC later on. I don't know what they're going to, I assume they're going to add more classes and more bosses, but I'll be keeping an eye on this kind of stuff. But I'm having fun as a Souls enjoyer and co-op enjoyer. It's been fun. But yeah, I don't know, Locke, you've been hearing us kind of talk about it. What do you think about it?
It's definitely not for me. I'm Souls out.
Yeah.
I think Elden Ring was the top, and then everything that's coming afterwards now has always been to me like no. But I like the aspect that you're playing together with your friends. Of course, that's always hugely fun. If you're playing together, do the characters actually matter? Like if you, for instance, if you tell Dustin, if you play as this character and I play as this character, we can do this special move. Or
it's not like you're combining moves like a dual tech from Chrono Trigger or anything like that. It's more just about synergy between these classes. So like what Dustin was playing yesterday is this archer character. So of course, the archer character has range, but he can also do this dash attack with a dagger, and it puts a mark on the enemy. And the enemy will take more damage from that while he has that X on him. So everyone will just do more damage to him. So I was like, hey, Dustin, if you're going to beat this class, use this move right now. Then I'll use my ult right after that for like maximum like efficiency. So if you're playing with friends, you can definitely coordinate stuff out better, which is, of course, more satisfying. And that really matters for when you're like out in the world running between locations, collecting stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, I just want to bring up like the map. Some of the stuff is predetermined what you get. Like I was saying, you'll get some health stuff if you go here no matter what. But on the map, you can push triangle or whatever to kind of see a more detailed stuff. And it'll show you like you have a chance of getting weapons here. You have a chance of getting talismans here and stuff like that. So there is some sort of like predetermined aspect to it. Of like, you know, you will get something, but you don't know exactly what it'll be. So if you're like, I need a weapon for this type of boss, you know, this boss is a poison weakness. I want a poison weapon to deal with this boss. You can go to this very specific spot on the map, but you don't know where it'll be necessarily. There's also no equipment load for anybody, so you can kind of just run around with whatever you want. And you're very fast in this game. You run really fast. They like added a new sprint thing because you don't have mounts or anything like that, but your characters book it. They're like sprinting like crazy fast. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll be playing more of it. I'll report back in as I progress, I suppose.
Sounds cool, yeah.
All right. Colin. Clair, Obscur. Expedition 33, you have finished
Clair
it.
Obscur.
It's complete.
Is that good? Is that good French?
Clair Obscur.
Perfect.
Oui, oui.
You speak French, right?
I do.
Yeah. Way. Oh, by the way, about Nightreign real quick.
Yeah.
I brought these stats up. I thought this was interesting. So Elden Ring has registered players on PSN profiles, 276,000 registered players on PS5, and 141,000 registered players on PS4. But Nightreign, and these numbers will take a long time to build to that level because people have to manually do it. But Nightreign's at 6,865 PS5 and 483 PS4. So the drop off has been substantial.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder if it was even worth it. But
I don't know. If this game is an asset flip, probably wasn't very expensive to make. It's not like this is not a main project at all. They're doing other stuff.
Totally.
This is just a weird, goofy spin-off game.
Wanted to throw that out there. I like my little anecdotes. All right. Clair Obscur. So yeah, I beat the game. It took about 30 hours. I beat it.
Yep.
I want to say on Friday or Saturday, something like that. And it's excellent. I mean, it's a totally excellent game. I am befuddled by how many people do like it. It's actually, it's kind of like the Elden Ring of JRPGs.
Yeah.
Wherein, not that it's selling substantially more than most JRPGs for sure, but it seems like some sort of crossover game that I don't really understand how it became a crossover game. It's excellent to play. I really like it because I like these kinds of games, but I'm a little surprised by it being so generously received by so many people. So I think that's a great sign of people's hoping people have a more of an open mind towards turn-based games, role-playing games generally, fantasy style or fantastical, surreal kind of games. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised just from that top level that so many, having beaten it and spent so much time with it, and about a third of the people that have played it have beaten it. So it's not like everyone's beating the game that's played it, and it's way lower even on Xbox because of Game Pass. I walked away surprised by that. I'm like, I really loved that game. I thought it was awesome. I'm surprised that this is a mainstream game. And I know they licensed it already or optioned it for a film. And I think this actually happened before the game even came out. But man, I don't know how they're going to do it all in a film. It would be a better miniseries TV show style thing, 6 episodes or something. You can take your time and kind of get through it. So the game is, in my opinion, extraordinarily fun to play because it is truly different than every other turn-based role-playing game I've ever played. And that's pretty extreme because I've played a lot of them. I mean, we were saying this on Sacred Symbols that there's virtually no meaningful turn-based role-playing game I've probably not played, actually, with rare exception. Maybe by the time you get to like late PS3, early PS4, I start falling off a little bit. But by that point, no one's really gives a shit about a lot of these games anyway. But I really like just basic turn-based games, and you don't really need to do very much to make them exciting for me. As we were talking about earlier with Dragon Quest, just back and forth kind of style stuff is totally fine with me. I like that. You go, I go, you go, I go, you go, I go. I dig that. And then, of course, what Final Fantasy IV introduces and goes on with active time battle is an interesting thing where kind of there's a timer, and so you get to go, but you have to make decisions. And so when you're in the menus, time is still passing. That's cool. And that, I think, is actually a really even supreme version of turn-based play where it keeps you engaged, as opposed to what I always say about Dragon Quest. You can literally be in a fight in Dragon Quest and walk away, and it'll be exactly where it was when you come back. And so that's not, but if you do that in Final Fantasy IV, you'll just die.
Yeah.
So all these many years later and outside of Japan, that there's some sort of revolution in terms of gameplay. And of course you can kind of trace the gameplay stylings to a Super Mario RPG, to a, and I think someone wrote in about this Legend of Dragoon and a few other things, Legend of Legaia, input-based games. But it's not very common to do it like this. And what I was saying on Sacred, what I think is really interesting about this game is it's a rhythm game and a memory game. And if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't. And I found I found some of the fights difficult, but always were able to overcome them. I know some people like Micah dropped the difficulty because she was kind of done with it and just wanted to be over with it. I know some people have done that, but I never really felt the draw to do that because I always felt like the game was fundamentally fair. And there's a really cool design philosophy in the center of it, in my opinion. I don't know if this is overt or not, but it's like, we're going to bring you to a place and show you a few enemies, and you're going to have to memorize those enemies, and then you'll never really see them again. And then you'll move on to the next stage. And I was saying it was like, I don't know if Locke would be, I don't know if this is a game in Europe, like for little kids to play, but you might remember it, Brad. It's just the game called Memory, which is like the card game where you have like a bunch of cards and you flip them over and then you have to match them up and all that kind of shit. Yeah. And I was like, it's a game of memory. You just have to execute. It actually doesn't really even matter how strong you are. And that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about it, because I'm not really, we were talking about this with the Lunar recently, where I'm not crazy about level capping, and they did that specifically around boss fights in the original Lunar, which they removed from the new ones because they knew that was a bad design choice. The game doesn't really require you to grind. And I did grind once 5 levels at one point in the 40s to just, because I was like, I'm fighting everything I'm encountering, but I feel like maybe I should be a little stronger. I'm not doing quite the amount of damage that I thought I would do. But it's not that kind of game. So it's very interesting that you could be severely underleveled and still win. You just have to execute. You could never get hit. And that's what I want. I assume people are already starting to do this, but I assume low level runs in this game are going to become a thing, because, and maybe even only like no optional fights at all. I think you could do it. You just have to be patient as fuck, I guess. And you are going to do chip damage basically to the enemies, and you're going to get wiped out if you get hit one time. But I love that. It's different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
So I think that this is a really successful game from a gameplay perspective. And I was saying over and over again, and a few people wrote in saying they see it, but most people say they don't see it, it reminds me of Final Fantasy 13 in a weird way, where it's this corridor-based game. The maps are different because you're open, you're outside. And in Final Fantasy 13, you're kind of in all of these different environments. So it's
right.
But there's nothing to really see. If you were able to zoom out, the maps kind of just bring you to a place. Sometimes they'll circle around and there'll be an optional like Pictos to find somewhere, or some money. But you're basically just going in a direction. There are no in-game maps, which I think except for the world map, which I think is a huge miss. And one of the big things I'll talk about is that I think this game needs one big patch, and they can fix a few things, and then I think it would be like truly phenomenal. And yeah, it's all coupled. So it's kind of like a linear game. And this is more open than Final Fantasy 13 was, but it's kind of this linear corridor game with this really unique battle system that actually is what sings about it. I will say I love the characters. There aren't that many of them, which I always love in a game, because you can really get to know them, especially in a game like this. Voice acting, excellent. Writing, excellent. I will say though, and I mean the beat-to-beat writing, the dialogue, all of that, I will say that the more I got into the game, the less engaged in the story I was. And by the time the big kind of reveal happens, I was like, oh, I don't care about this. And that kind of did injure it for me.
Right.
It seemed like a story that was too cute by half, and I didn't need it to be that. And I dig it. There's a lot of emotionality in it. I like the way it ends, depending on what you do. Pretty cool. And the characters are like, just the interplay between the characters is awesome. So even the characters that are involved in this story that I'm not that crazy about, it's still very compelling. But just what it's about, I was like, it felt like
I'm in the same boat as you.
I felt like it was a cop out and not what I wanted. And I felt like it, from a writing perspective, is the easy way out of what you wrote. And that's cool. It is what it is. But yeah, by the end, and I know Micah felt the same way, by the end, I was just like, oh, it doesn't have the same emotionality for me anymore that it did in the beginning. And I will say that the intro in the town, Lumiere or whatever, I loved that. Like, it really grabbed me and got me into it immediately. I really, there was never a moment where I wasn't into the game from just playing it, but it started at a very high, and then it kind of regressed. A few of the problems that I think the game has, and I think that they're fairly substantial, though they're not game breaking by any stretch of the imagination. You should not play the game because of this. If you're into role-playing games or into something unique and novel experience, you should definitely play this game. But like I said earlier, the no area maps is weird. And makes the game a lot less fun. And from a design perspective, I can't help but wonder if this was a padding thing. Because if you want to be a completionist, you kind of have to run around and you find yourself going in circles over and over again because you want to be thorough and not miss anything. And the very act of not giving you a map probably adds several hours to the game. And I just don't think that that's fun. And the game should tell you all the information that you want to know. Even if it's unknowable, even if it's like I was saying, like an East style map or a Borderlands style map where you have to go to places and then run to them to make them appear on the map, there should be something. So in other words, you get to an area and somehow you have a full map of the place. Like I get that doesn't make a lot of sense and that might be immersion breaking, but let me build a map. You know, especially because there's a journaling system in the game and he's already writing things down. You could immerse yourself in the whole thing. It could be like a fucking Nathan Drake style thing where you see the hand drawn. But that really annoyed the fuck out of me. And I just don't understand that decision. I don't get it. And that really, really bothered the fuck out of me.
Yeah, I agree with you in the sense that I'm cool with games not having a map. But the thing with Clair is a lot of the environments, not all of them, but a lot of them don't stand out in the sense of like their design, where I feel like I could really get to know the area in a meaningful way. It's just kind of like looping around, like you're saying, some of the sections are student circles. There are some parts where I'm like, okay, I can actually see the world and interact with it and move around where I don't feel like I need the map. But some of it, I'm like, yeah, this design is just kind of boring going through it. That's like a problem with mine in the game, and going through a lot of the corridor areas, Colin, in my opinion, are just kind of boring and not very interesting what you're doing in these areas. They try to break it up with like the grappling hook and climbing stuff occasionally.
Yeah.
But you're never really doing anything very interesting in these areas, like puzzles. There's a couple things later on, like side stuff that does some of that, but I needed more out of that game in that sense.
In this regard, the other thing the game is missing, and again, so if you were to fix what I'm about to say and the map and maybe a few other issues, you would have like just one big patch. Just put these things in the game. Another big thing is just no quest log. And I get people like the amorphous Elden Ring style, we're not going to tell you shit kind of thing. This isn't that style game, and really Japanese role-playing games don't read like that. That reads as old, and even old style new role-playing games have quest logs. So I find this to be a major problem because I would say most of the locations in the game are optional. And the game doesn't tell you very much about where you've been, what you can do, what you need to do, what you've already seen. What I started doing with SGA, who's like your airship style character or whatever, and he was great, but I started just going to all the locations on the map because they show you. Yeah. And if you go and just walk into them, even if it has the danger sign and telling you that you're just way low level for this area, you just add it to your map and then it adds the name. But what I've been realizing, and it's not uncommon because I do play a lot of games blind. I think it's overstated how much I use guides or whatever, but this game doesn't require a guide. You either can play it or you can. I don't know like what kind of strategy someone's going to be able to tell you about. It's like me trying to tell you how to play the drums. Like you either have the rhythm for it or not. I guess you could take lessons and get better at it, but ultimately you're going to get it or not. So there was nothing to look up. But then at the end, and in the middle of the game too, like after Act 1, I went and tried to find like a guide of like, what can I do now? Like, what are the things that I missed? And really, it's not lined up like that anywhere online. So I'm kind of in this frustrating position. It's not quite unlike where I was with Stellar Blade, actually, where I'm like, I'm not really sure what I need to do to get the rest of these trophies or to do all these quests. I'm not going to figure it out. Actually, Stellar Blade, it was like the collectibles. It wouldn't tell you what collectibles you had. So if you wanted to go and get the collectibles, you had to like go around and find all the locations again to make sure that you were checking them off so you weren't missing one. It's like the blast shards in Infamous. And and I'm like, yeah, that's not fun. So a major problem with this game for me is I like it more than enough to try to platinum it, but there's no coherent way to do it really without just, I don't know. Like there's the lack of a quest or the lack of a quest log is a huge problem in the game. I know these seem like small issues. It reminds me a little bit of God of War Ragnarok and my issue and God of War 2018, where I was like, there's UI and UX problems with this game that really hold it back. I think there's a similar thing here. And I think we played a superior Japanese role-playing game just recently, which is Metaphor, which I think is definitely better. But where this game shines is in its combat. And again, it's a rhythm game. I can see I will say people vastly overstated the difficulty of it. And I do think it's a matter of what is easy or hard to you. People always tell me, oh, you're so good at Mega Man or Castlevania, you should be able to play these games. And I'm like, well, the Souls games where I'm like, I don't see how how that skill translates. And maybe it's a similar thing where you'd be very good at twitch shooters or whatever, but you just can't quite get this game down. I can see it being very frustrating if you're just not quick on the uptake with those particular button prompts and stuff like that. So I get why people saying it's like, oh, it's a Souls game. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the same thing as Stellar Blade. I'm like, this is not really a Souls game. That's a different sort of game, of course. But people saying because you block and react and press buttons that it's like a Souls game and it's super hard. I'm like, it was never super hard. One thing I will say, and I did say this on Sacred as well, is that this game really benefits from the old adage of just if you run into a wall, just go to sleep and then play it the next day. And every time I did that, because I would get to a boss. There was only a few bosses in the game that really roughed me up, like pushed my shit in kind of thing. Where one of the second to last boss, like the penultimate boss in the game, was like really hard. And I went and fought him like 3 or 4 times. And what's fun too is that even if you're going to lose or it seems like you're going to lose, I just keep playing because you just get more information about the fight.
Yeah.
And but then it's like, all right, I'm going to bed. And then I get up the next day and this just works in video games for my whole life. It's like, I usually would beat the boss the first try the next time because your brain's just subconsciously working on everything. So it really, really benefits from that sort of thing too, wherein the game never got overtly frustrating because even if I was kind of annoyed late at night fighting this boss or running into this wall, I knew in my heart that I could just do it the next day if I just walked away, stopped getting frustrated, and so on and so forth. So I really, really like it. I think I highly recommend it. I think one of the major kind of touchstones of it is its price. It's a very competitive price. I cannot believe they didn't charge $60 or $70 for this game. And at $50, it's a steal. They've already sold 3.5 million copies at $50. So they're doing great. Kepler is their publisher. So obviously they're splitting it with them, but I'm excited to see what's next. And I wonder what is this Clair Obscur thing is this the series now? And the next game will be Clair Obscur : something else about, right. I don't even want to say what the game's about, but it's not what you think it's about. And at all, actually. And I'll be interested to see how they continue. I mean, obviously they're going to continue and do more things than they should. So, bravo to them and really well done. A game that I highly recommend and experience it for yourself and see how you feel about it. It seems like everyone generally likes it. The story seems to be a little more hit or miss for some people, but I don't know how you could really argue with the gameplay or the experiential stuff. Even the leveling and the individuality of the characters reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy IV or Final Fantasy VI, where every character can be leveled up, but they kind of do their own thing and they get their own skills and they're kind of leveling up in their own arc. Right. And I thought that was kind of cool too. There might be a few too many systems. One of the things I was saying was the Picto system, which is kind of like an Esper system in the game or an accessory system. I feel like it has like one too many steps where you have to equip it for 3 battles and then everyone learns the skill. It's like, you don't need to do shit like this. Like, just learn the skill.
Yeah.
Like 3 battles. Like, because then you're constantly what I found I actually started doing was just having one person just rotating through all of them and not changing anyone else's accessories because it's so fucking annoying. And then you get those points and you can use the Picto skills and use your skill points to kind of have those passive abilities. And there's quite a few cool systems.
Yeah.
Maybe I would be curious to know how you guys leveled up. I leveled up all my stats evenly except for luck, which I didn't put any points in at all. So I basically had like my dexterity, whatever those things are, I would just have them all even on all my characters as I went up.
I put vitality the most for people early on, just because when I don't know what to do, I think health is always a good thing in that sense. But then later on, as I got weapons I really liked, I just kind of started tailoring my stats towards those weapons because, it scales. Like you get an S rank scaling or in this stat, stuff like that. It's one thing I didn't really like about the leveling system. I thought the stats were kind of boring in that sense, and just tailoring your stats around your weapon near the end game is just kind of not very exciting, I suppose. But that's pretty much what I did.
I don't always feel like this because I think in Western role-playing games, point allocation is fun. But in Japanese-style role-playing games, I want them to level me up. Like, dude, there's something exciting about whatever Dragon Quest, and the screen comes up and it's like, you've leveled up, +1 strength, +2 dexterity, and you don't really know what you're going to get, and you just feel like you're progressing, and you don't have to think too much about it. I like that more.
I think it would have worked better in that sense, Colin, because also I found myself not trying out a lot of weapons just because I'm like, well, these are completely different stats than what my character has, and I don't really want to respect them right now, so I'm not going to even use it, sort of thing. So it kind of deterred me from experimenting, which I think would have been better, like you said, if you just got normal, like a flat stat every time. It was like predetermined. Because like the Picto is where the customization is, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's already there. You don't need to add it on to like what you get when you level up your character.
I will say that the Picto skills, a lot of them are useless, or like I'm like, why would you want this?
Sure.
But generally speaking, that was fun too, because there are ones where you can like revive yourself in the middle of the battle, but it's like very expensive to do, so you have to use a lot of your points for that. That ended up being essential a couple of times when I was getting beat. And just the little, I didn't even look any of this stuff up because I didn't want to spoil it for myself, but with a game with this many options, there must be like beefy fucking builds that people have figured out that absolutely obliterate things. Yeah. Just based on like weapon skills, the way you can respec your skill points, your buying skills that are individualized, then you have all the weapons that you're upgrading. I'm like, there's got to be some interplay between the shit that makes.
People were breaking the game. Yeah. They were one-shotting like the super bosses.
Yeah, that's all. That kind of stuff is cool. Like when you can, a game that has this many systems will be inherently broken if you can figure out how to break it open.
Yeah, so, it's like, Final Fantasy VII, you could like not die pretty much in the original if you knew what you're doing. So there's a lot of fun to be had there.
There was that other Picto skill that was Micah turned me on to, because I wasn't even looking at them after a while. I'm like, this game's it's not that hard. I don't need to like get too crazy with tailoring things. But she's like, when I was starting to get more difficult later, she was like, there's a skill that allows you to break the 9,999 hit point barrier for attacks. And when I did that for all my characters, I was like, oh my God, they're doing so much damage. But dude, shout out to Minoko. I think he's the best character in the game. And
I used him a lot. Yeah.
He was always in my party. He was always in my party. Right. Yeah. He's like a Strago or something, where I always had him in my party because you have to collect the enemy feet or whatever. And then he learns the skills, but he has to be in the party. Yeah. So I just never removed him from the party. And just naturally, he learned, I think, everything but 3 skills in the entire game. So I'd have to go, maybe they're optional bosses or whatever. But I really loved him. And I used him because he's got that roulette kind of thing going on where like
the wheel.
Right. And then you have, so if you just have really powerful attacks of each kind of option, and then you can win no matter what. So I was like, he was awesome. And I'm usually not crazy about the blue, like the Gaos and the Strago type characters, where it's like you have to really fuck with the enemies and get their skills. But here, I really like that a lot. But I will say, man, I really like this. I mean, I love this game. I think it's awesome. I'm still Team Metaphor though, as far as the big JRPGs or J style RPGs that have come out recently. I still think that that's the superior game because the story holds up more in that game, in my opinion.
Let's read this from Tim Copeland. Hi, Colin. As a huge fan of JRPGs from the PS1 era, I can't help but feel that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 draws some serious inspiration from The Legend of Dragoon. The combat rhythm, the tone, even the dramatic flair. It all feels like a spiritual successor in some ways. Am I the only one seeing this, or are you picking up on those vibes too? Sending love from Texas and thanks for all you do.
I don't remember what even Legend of Dragoon is about anymore, so I can't speak to it too much thematically, but it does have a sort of input-based combat system that I guess is reminiscent of Expedition 33. But really, like I said earlier, there are games that remind me of this more. I think people have been bringing up Mario RPG a lot, right?
Of course, yeah.
And then the original, like SNES Squaresoft one, although there are many others. And then it reminds me a lot of Legend of Dragoon, or I'm sorry, not Legend of Legaia, which was a PS1 game. Are you familiar with that game, either of you?
I haven't played it, but I know what it is.
Yeah, I loved that fucking game when I was a kid. I was in high school. I think it was in 10th grade when it came out. For people that have not played it, it's a PS1 Japanese role-playing game published by Sony that is basically a fighting game, role-playing game. And So you're running around like a typical role-playing game, Japanese role-playing game, but then you get into a random battle, and then all the fighting is done with, it's turn-based, but button inputs. So, and this is really reminiscent of Sabin in Final Fantasy VI, which I also think is another inspiration for this battle system, in which you have to do the button inputs. Very fighting game inspired, obviously, at that point. So if you wanted to do like a suplex with Sabin, you had to like do a certain button press when it was his turn, and if you missed it, he just wouldn't go. And so there are a few things that this draws from, but I gotta say, it's music games and rhythm games that I think inspire. At least I know that they were inspired by Sekiro and they don't bring that stuff up, but that's the way it reads to me, where maybe it's as a musician, as more of a rhythmic musician, where I'm like, yeah, there's a certain repeatability and style. There's no surprises if you fight the bosses over and over again. They'll go into a second form. They'll start bringing out new attacks, but everything is the exact same. When it says he's going to use this attack, you know what it is. And you just got to react. It's not about withstanding the attack, dealing with the RNG of a fucking crit or something like that. Just avoid it. Oh, that's a big thing that I forgot to say too, is I almost never parried. I would just dodge.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because you just get more, like, if I really nailed the timing of something, I would do it. But as the game went on more and more, I was just like, just dodging and just making the fight last longer, but not taking damage is optimal to
it's safer,
biting off more than I can chew and then getting bodied because I thought I could deflect this thing. And often I would just get perfect dodges, which would be an R1 hit style counterattack. But I just rarely ever did that unless you had the gradient attacks. That was easy to dodge. But so I wanted to throw that out there too, that the game, if you just play it passively and don't get too aggressive, it really just let it come to you. And I think that does a lot to mitigate the difficulty. If you're just using the R1 counterattacks, you're going to have a harder time if you're not super rhythmic. And the circle just gives you more room to breathe. So I would rather the battles just last twice as long.
All right. This is from Shadi Haddad. Colin and Brad, do you think the reaction to Expedition 33 is a bit overblown? I think it's a great game. Innovative. Music is top notch. But the praise this game is getting is like you'd think it was the second coming of Jesus Christ. It's a great 8.5 to 9 at times, but it feels like everyone is talking about this like it's game of the generation.
I agree, actually. I agree as well. Yeah, I'm surprised by, it's a great game, truly, but it is not the game of, like you're saying, like people are talking about like blown away by it. And I'm like, I don't know that it's that. So there's like an echelon of games that it's not in for me. But it's below that echelon of games. And that's a great place to be. I mean, those are fucking timeless games in there, but it is not, for me, a BioShock, a Wild Arms, a Final Fantasy 6 or 7 or 4, and it's not a Metaphor. And it's not a Persona 4 Golden. Right? It's not. So, but it's great. And could it win Game of the Year? I don't know. I don't play very much. Like, I play a lot of games, as people know. You can always look at my trophies to see what I'm playing recently, but I play a lot of older stuff as I mix in with new stuff. I'm not just like a new hype beast kind of gamer. And so it probably is my Game of the Year so far, because
it'll win.
There's not been that much that I'm like looking at my trophies now, and it's like, I don't even know what Atomfall, Breakout Beyond, Lunar, Indiana Jones, which was really a game from last year, and Clair Obscur are the only games I've played that came to PlayStation this year, and Shovel Knight Dig, but that's also an old game. So, but I've played like 20 other games. So really like right this year. So like right now, it is my Game of the Year. but I do expect that it'll get knocked out. And if it doesn't, it's a good candidate for Game of the Year. Yeah. But people are talking about it like, yeah, I agree. Like it is this seminal work. And I'm like, yeah. Good news for them is that if they continue down this path, then the Uncharted 2 to their Uncharted 1 is going to be incredible. But I generally agree with you, Shadi, and I guess Brad agrees too, is that, it's not a 10. And the music, by the way, he brought up the music is fucking sick too. So. Yeah.
So the Metacritic score for this game on PS5, at least, Critic 1 is 92. User score with over 14,000 reviews is 9.7.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, teach their own. It's clearly touching people in a unique way. And that's awesome. Here are two things that we can walk away from it. Is my hope that this opens up people's minds to turn-based games that think that they're lame.
Yeah,
because they're
me
not.
too.
They're really fun.
Like, this is higher than The Witcher 3 is getting from user scores, higher than Ocarina of Time. It's like,
it does seem to be a zeitgeisty sort of thing. The other thing I'll say, though, and I think this is a better thing to take away from it, a more positive thing even, is this game gave me hope that a small team of people can really make something like this.
Yeah.
I admit, and I said this on Sacred weeks ago, is that I went to Moby Games to look at the credits immediately when people started giving it all this credit, because I was like, how big really is this team? And the reality is that they do send out and outsource a lot of stuff, but it's not game stuff. A lot of it is like localization, translation, mocap, performance capture, and all the rest. And it's like, yeah, it really was a small team of probably fewer than 50 people that made it. And that to me gives me a lot of hope. At $50 in a Western country, France is an incredibly labor intensive, unionized, doesn't fuck around kind of place with that too. So it's not like they were getting paid a slave's wage, and they made it all work. And that's good news.
Yeah.
And so
they did a great job.
Yeah. That to me they did do a great job. With the exception of the UI UX stuff, which I think is substantial, they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not their fault that people are treating this like the second coming of Jesus.
No, it's not. No, yeah.
And if that's the way you feel about it, more power to you.
More power to you. Yeah. All right, cool. Very nice. I'm sure we'll talk about that more in the future. Spoiler cast.
Yeah, we'll do another spoiler cast. I felt bad because people were mad about Hogue on that spoiler cast, and then Hogue apologized to me, and I'm like, I'm not mad. Like, people are gonna.
Yeah, why would he apologize to you? Like,
well, I think I get it. It's like if you're the target of ridicule in someone else's thing, you don't. But it's like, I'm not. Dude, people are mad at me all the time. Yeah, it's like
we just give our honest takes, whether people like them or not.
Right.
That's all we can do.
So yeah, we'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I'm ready to record whenever, because I really don't know that I'm going to do the side quest stuff. Although I feel like
there's some pretty big narrative stuff there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I feel like there is, but I got to look again because I haven't looked since last week. But I need to find like a cogent, or maybe I could just use ChatGPT to do it or whatever. But just like, what do I need to do?
Sure.
Because I don't want to just follow the trophies, because I don't think that's going to be all inclusive. And I'm compelled by it, but just give me a fucking quest log, man. This won't even be a problem. Just give me a quest log. What's the big deal? Grow up.
Grow up. All right, boys, it's time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we just talk about something that we're not pleased with in gaming. Company, game, person, whatever. Lockmort, do you got anything that you think needs sorting out in the game industry this week?
Yeah, I read this article 2 days ago, so maybe it's already fixed, but I don't think it is because I didn't see a follow-up to it. But Walmart is my sorted out because they've been canceling Switch 2 pre-orders without warning the people just a week before launch. And their explanation to those people is that there's a system-wide glitch and they can't help it. So those people who pre-ordered, 4 months ago, 3 months ago, are basically fucked.
Yeah, that would be infuriating.
I'd be so pissed, dude.
Yeah, which is horrible, of course, especially if you really want to get a Switch 2. I'm guessing they're all sold out now, so that's that's horrible though. Walmart is mine. That's horrible.
Yeah,
bad.
That sucks. Holy moly. Yeah, that's awful, dude. PS6, dude, what happened to you, Colin, with PS6, dude?
Oh yeah, I'd be furious. I mean, the thing is,
seppuku on the spot.
And the thing is that maybe I shouldn't be this confident, but it's like, first of all, I would live and I would figure it out. I might even. I think I said this when I think when PS5 came out or was coming out, I'd be like, I'll scalp it if I have to.
Yeah,
because I do need one, so I don't want to do that, but I would, and I'm blessed to be able to do that, I guess, if I wanted to with the PS6. But also, I just feel like there are so many people in our ecosystem and in our community that pre-order a bunch of this shit and do it for friends, and someone would have something for me, not for free, but like pay for it. And so but that would be a bummer. And I saw that happening in the UK with Game as well, and where they were canceling pre-orders, and it's like, damn, dude, that's just, there's got to be recourse for that. It's very similar to the way the Department of Transportation in the United States with airlines now, if they cancel your flight or like fuck around, they have to pay you cash.
Yeah.
It's like like free miles or free this or snacks. It's like, you can't fuck around with people like that. Anyone can take the reservations. It's like the episode of Seinfeld. the idea is to hold the reservation.
Gotta hold it.
And so, oh my God, that would, especially if it doesn't feel like a console's coming out, by the way, just letting everyone know again.
I wonder if a lot of that's because the press doesn't have it early. No one's getting it early.
Right. I also think we're in the post-press era where, and I was saying that recently to Micah, maybe, where I'm like, this is like where this is truly the first piece of hardware that's come out where the press doesn't matter anymore. And so there's not, I used to go to IGN while I worked there, but obviously you'd go to a site like IGN and all these things, or GameSpot or whatever, and you just see the front pages and the stories and that the way we used to use the internet, and you would just, so you'd be bombarded, you would know, you would have an awareness of everything. It's not like that anymore. So I think that has something to do with it too, where you're just kind of inoculated in your bubble that you've built. And it's not intentional all the time. It's an algorithmic. A lot of it is like, you're just going to get, I don't give a fuck about Nintendo. So why would I get things about Nintendo? And then you're never going to see Nintendo stuff. But I'm interested to see the sales numbers, because I think they're going to be, it's probably going to be the biggest launch, or one of the biggest hardware launches ever. Yeah,
I imagine it'll be very strong, at least at the start. With Mario Kart, dude, that's the game to launch with. The attach rate of that game on Switch was insane.
Yeah, it was it's incredible how many copies they've sold of it. So of the last one.
Crazy times. All right, Colin, what about you? Is there anything you think needs sorting out this week?
Yeah, Randy Pitchford.
Yeah.
I like Randy Pitchford. I think he gets a hard time, or people give him a hard time, and
me included.
He says, and he's a little goofy and strange, I guess, sometimes, but obviously a talented designer and producer of games, and kind of the maestro at Gearbox these days, and for many years. But the whole recent thing with him saying, I brought it up here. Where is it? Because oh my God, no, that's the passive aggressive thing he said later. Where is it? He said something about people being kind of sensitive. Oh yeah, here it is. When I was looking for what he originally said, by the way, I found that he is repeating the things has said already that have got him in trouble. But basically, he was noting that when Starflight came to Sega Genesis in 1991, it was $80, and he was making $4.25 an hour, and he figured it out. And people were talking about whether Borderlands 4 was going to be $80, or I'm sorry, $70. No, I guess $70 or $80, right? Would that be it? Yeah,
yeah.
And that Take-Two hasn't made hasn't had a verdict on it yet or whatever. And then he said something like, you'll figure it out if you're a true fan. This was in mid-May, and then it kind of went under the radar for a while, and then like a week later someone dug it up and found that he said this, and it caused like this whole cycle that we talked about on Sacred. But it just goes to, and he's kind of, I don't want to say doubling down, but kind of acting passive aggressive about things too. And as I said on the show, it's not that he's wrong, because he's actually totally right. It's just that some things you just don't need to say when you're trying to sell a game to price sensitive people in an industry that is becoming more expensive in an economic era where things are a little more trying for people than they were. But he's absolutely right that the cost to make these games has gone up. Borderlands 4 is going to be, no doubt, an extraordinary step up from the old Borderlands games. They put a lot into it, but that these things cost a lot of money, and that also the pricing is not in his hands. It's in his publisher's hands, and Gearbox owns Take-Two now. The one thing that I was thinking about was Strauss Zelnick being on the phone with him and being like, you need to shut the fuck up. And I like Strauss Zelnick personally. I don't know if you saw an interview with him recently where they asked him if he played Grand Theft Auto 6, and he's like, I don't play video games. I love that. That's what I keep telling people. You don't need to play games to help shepherd these companies, which is so funny. Like, he's obviously incredibly able, but I can only imagine Randy Pitchford getting yelled at behind the scenes. Because remember, again, Gearbox was purchased by Take-Two more recently during the development of this game. And it's like, just don't say anything. So I just think he needs to sort it out in the sense, I get it, because I shoot off at the mouth too, but you just do 99% of the things in my head I don't say. And you just have to know how to thread the needle. And you could have, the funny thing is, he could have played it totally differently and gained sympathy and said, like, we really don't know, and we hope that things are cheap, and even whatever, but just really the easiest thing would have been to say nothing. So I get what he was saying. He is absolutely right. He's correct 100%. That games are more expensive, back in the day, that it's not a hypothetical thing to me. I was there. I remember how much they cost. I remember I paid my own money. $80 for Final Fantasy 6 or 3 was a memory. I paid that at Toys R Us in 1994. It was like everything I had, all my allowance and my fucking Christmas money and shit. Mm-hmm. So he's totally right. And people don't want to hear it. So you just can't say it. And it's truly that simple. And it has gotten to the point with the pricing situation where people do not want to hear it. And it doesn't matter how right you are. Just stop prodding and poking people that you rely upon for the financial health of your company, and stop ruining the vibe for your game, which I think is going to be great. So just wanted to tell him to sort it out, please.
Mine's more of a light sorted out because it doesn't really affect me, but it's for others that I know. And that is Xbox just putting their handheld on ice for now, when there was a lot of excitement for some people I know about this.
I don't think that's going to be the last piece of the last hardware they're going to put on ice.
I don't think it is either, but I just know some people were excited for that, and to hear that is a real bummer for them. Because like Steam OS came out, is open now on more things and like that, and that's Microsoft's like, okay, well, we're just going to focus on their OS, I think they're going to focus on, or something like that. I don't know. The Dukes would know more about this.
It's smart. They just have to, because all their games, ultimately, the Xbox is going to be migrated to a PC Windows kind of platform that I assume for games that are available on that platform, which I think is virtually everything that they do, is certainly since the mid-2010s is already available there. So just give people the licenses for those games and everyone's just going to move over. In other words, like I said, I don't think this is that. I believe, if you were to ask me to bet, I believe there's going to be another Xbox console, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's 100%. Like, I think that there's probably an argument inside on whether that's actually the move to do.
But we all agree that's the last one, probably.
Oh my God, yeah. But I actually think the PS6 is probably the last PlayStation 2.
You think PS6 is the last one?
As we understand it. I mean, how much can we hypothesize about this before it actually happens, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to that point. This will actually be my constellation topic soon, is you guys should read about it. And people out there, if they're interested, AI 2027. Have you read this or heard about this? It's this thought exercise that these academics did about how fucking crazy things are already getting, and that by, I think, Q3 2027, like, we have this breakthrough in AI technologies where AI starts working on itself and starts accelerating to the point where a lot of these problems, these hardware problems, software problems, and I'm not saying this is what they're working on, but just every problem you can imagine is going to start being dealt with in mathematical certainty. And so you imagine by the time and I highly recommend people go, and it's like 2 hours to read it probably, or listen to it if you want to.
Right.
But I just feel like by the mid 2030s, the late 2030s, like, I can't imagine that we are still playing on dedicated hardware. I think there'll be a PlayStation app, an ecosystem. I don't think that's going away. I think and everything will migrate to it. But it's just hard for me to believe that we'll continue to do this. Like, we're really going to still plug hardware into our televisions with all of this amazing revolutionary stuff happening. But people said that exact thing 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows,
Michael Pachter. All right. This is from Yoda's Slimy Mudhole.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Hot.
His fucking hut on Dagobah, dude, cracks me up, man.
I know. Did he built it? Like, he built it.
I guess so, yeah.
What was
he? You can go anywhere, yeah.
He was that scared.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Hide, I must. Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Yoda, dude, what a fucking
character. It probably stunk in there.
Oh my God, yeah. Dude, you know one of my favorite moments in Star Wars is when he just fucking eats Luke's like hot dog or whatever. He's like, he just like starts munching on it. I fucking love that shit, dude.
Yoda's awesome. Love it.
All right. Sort it out to all you greasy, grimy, negligent sons of bitches out there who don't take care of your consoles and games. I volunteer at a thrift store sometimes testing out old games and have had to throw away thousands of dollars worth of games, consoles, and controllers because they're covered in mold, years of baked on Cheeto dust, and other inexplicable sticky substances. It makes my heart sink every time I have to throw something away because I know if people took care of their things, the retro market wouldn't be so supply constrained, jacking prices up. I know sometimes scratches on discs happen, but pulling out a rare game just for it to be scratched to shit really gets me down. Thanks for letting me rant. Damn.
What's the problem with just buying the scratched PS1 game though? Half you collectors are posers and don't play them anyway. So
true.
Like,
yeah.
Some people are going to be mad that you're throwing any of that stuff out, even if it's. I know there's a philosophy. I don't know if it's the working philosophy in the entire retro community that a lot of that stuff shouldn't be thrown away because you can be mine it for parts, and even if the cartridge is sticky, just take the card out of it and put it in another cartridge. I don't know. Maybe
it's like too much work for most people.
But it's so interesting because it's like what I do with my GI Joes. You know, I'll have 2 Astro Vipers, and one of them has, you know, a floppy arm and a broken thumb. But you take them apart, and then you give a different one who's all fucked up but has the right arm. You give that arm to the other GI Joe, and then you have one pristine Joe. I mean, I do that.
That's like Toy Story 2.
Right,
fix up Woody.
Right, that's exactly right. So, yeah, I wonder what if other people feel like I do, where it's like you may. Also, there are those like YouTube refurbishers that get. It's like I found this Nintendo GameCube in a New Delhi toilet, you know, and then they're playing fucking Super Mario Sunshine on it in an hour. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, people restore those things as a hobby too, so could benefit both of them.
Yeah. All right. This is from Fast and Bulbous. Hail, be thou, O dutiful summoned. I'm issuing a sorted out to unskippable cutscenes. It feels like many developers are insulted that I might want to revisit their games and only engage with the gameplay itself. Why can't I replay Ghost of Tsushima without being forced to sit through videos I've watched before? Why can't I just cut straight to the game part? Both latest Dooms get this right. Every cutscene is skippable, improving replayability. Another game that does skippable cutscenes well, Death Stranding. Do you think your cutscenes are more captivating than Kojima's? Please let me skip.
Sure.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah,
sure. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, let them skip the cutscenes if they've played it already.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd.
Or in general.
It's kind of, again, I don't think you want to make it so that you press X and it skips. You don't want people to do it accidentally, but have the thing like Expedition 33 does, like hold the circle button down.
Then you push one other button.
And then skip it. I totally agree. I don't understand why you wouldn't have that
hold
option.
button. You hold like X or circle or something for a little bit.
I like that one the best, yeah.
Yeah. All right. This is from Curry Powder 84. Hey, summoners. The big three need to sort it out with their controllers, with stick drift being such a big issue. Why are they not using Hall effect sticks in any of their controllers? Why is a third-party company like 8BitDo able to release high-quality controllers with not only Hall effect sticks, but also remappable buttons and rear buttons for just $50? Meanwhile, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo still won't offer us the solution for stick drift, even when it's been available for decades now. Yes, the Dreamcast controller had Hall effects in 1999. I think it is obviously a case of planned obsolescence. I can't. Colin, read this for me.
Planned obsolescence.
There you go. The business strategy where products are designed to fail after a period of time in order to incentivize people into buying replacements. There is no reason why the Switch 2 Joy-Con sticks still don't feature Hall effects. Sort it out, you greedy corporations.
The fuck is a Hall effect? I had to go look this up. Like, I've been in the video game industry since 2002, and I've never heard this term in my entire life. So it could just be one of these things that I missed. But I went and looked it up. It's the Hall effect is the production of a potential difference across an electrical conductor that is transverse to an electric current in the conductor and to an applied magnetic field perpendicular to the current. What?
Yeah.
What? Can I say something? I mean, long-time listeners know this theory of mine. Stick drift is the way you guys are using your controllers. And I've never had stick drift in my life.
Well,
so,
you do buy new controllers like once a year, right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
People complain about these things way sooner than that. it reminds me of the unraveling analog sticks on PS4. It's like, what are you guys doing? I never even remotely had that issue. That issue was propping up like weeks after the con. Don't tell me you guys are treating your controllers right. You're not. You're jamming.
I'm sure
on
a lot
them.
of people don't.
You're fucking around with them. It's not even like spilling things on or whatever. I think you're literally fucking around with the analog sticks. Like you're pressing on them too hard. You're bending. I don't know what is going on out there.
Yeah, I'm sure some people are sorted out. Crazy.
You know.
Yeah, don't get too crazy with your sticks.
Are you like hammering nails in with your DualSense controller? Fuck are you guys doing?
Happened to a couple of my DualSense, or at least one of them, but it hasn't happened to me in a while. But it has happened. But
yeah, I do. I would say I get a new controller like every 12 to 18 months just because there's some new interesting controller that I like. But I would also argue that within that 12 to 18 months, I use the controller 25 times more than the average PlayStation player. So I'm also getting many years worth of use out of them. I know I'm a half joking, but I just think people are blaming the stick drift entirely on the manufacturers, where I think, and it's funny he brings up the Dreamcast controller because the Dreamcast controller was notoriously horrible. I mean, you could break the Dreamcast controller and no problems at all, but it was the triggers that used to break, not the analog stick.
Yeah, the analog stick is he's saying specifically, which was good about it.
Because of the Hall effect, which is a thing I never heard of in my entire life, but I just learned something new today about electromagnetism.
I wonder why they don't use the Hall effect then. These companies, I don't know.
Yeah,
like what the reason behind that is, their logic.
It happened to my Joy-Cons, which I never used. I only used them like a couple of times.
Yeah, the Joy-Cons were very bad.
Yeah, and then when I went to sell my Switch, they had that problem.
Oh. Yeah.
Can you imagine one of these illiterate kids coming out of school today reading this stuff? The Hall coefficient is defined as the ratio of the induced electric field to the product of the current density and the applied magnetic field. It is a characteristic of the material from which the conductor is made, since its value depends on the type, number, and properties of the charge carriers that constitute the current. What?
What? That's above my head for sure. I don't know enough about.
And also, like
sticks.
every one of, I'm on Wikipedia reading this. Like every one of them is blue, so it's like all just linking out to lots of like, dude.
Yeah, simplify that.
Like
shit.
there is a link out to magnetic field perpendicular.
Yeah. What?
God, I'm so glad I majored in history. All I had to do was read books.
Someone in the audience is like, I know what that is.
Oh, I'm sure many people do. You know, like. Me, I'll just read the books and then and the beauty of it was there were some facts, but a lot of it was interpretation. So I was like, what how did this happen? It's like, well, as I understand it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know, hey, here's your A+, here's your certificate, your degree that is the same degree as the people that have electrical engineering next to it. That's funny. The people I went to college with, like, all were like losing their minds, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna read. You know? Yeah. They're like, I got to go to lab today and put together a conductor. I'm an architect and I live in the studio, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna read this book about George Washington. I'll see you guys tonight.
Same degree, baby.
Yeah, and then we all graduated at the same time from Northeastern.
Yeah, get fucking owned.
Punks.
All right. Yeah, little bitches. All right. Time for Keep It Up. The exact opposite. Stuff we're pleased with in gaming. Lockmort, let's start with you again. Are you pleased with anything right now?
Yes, I have a very easy one, but you're not going to be happy because it's you. It's you, Brad.
I'm not happy about that yet.
Because you made a new channel. And you put up a video there talking about Death Stranding. And in 1 week, you got 9K views and 2.5K subs.
Oh, shit.
Which is amazing for a new channel. That's amazing. And not only that, that's of course, those stats are amazing. But all the comments, I think you have 170 of them. All of them are positive, which is awesome. Wow. Even the people who didn't know you beforehand, who found the channel, are positive about it, which is awesome. So you did amazing. Great job.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Well, you helped me a lot with that video and you taught me how to edit. So you deserve a lot of credit as well.
Well, you did most of it yourself because when you show me the footage, normally sometimes I help like YouTubers with edits when it's the first time. So when you showed me your stuff, I thought like, oh, this is going to be like most YouTubers. It's going to, this is going to take all day and it's not going to be good. But when you showed me what you already did, it was like, oh, this is already practically done. Like, you're perfect.
I'm sure Colin can relate to this, but just years of working with editors in video gaming. Like you kind of get an idea of like flow, like what makes a good edit for that kind of content. So I think that just kind of helped me a lot. But boy, did we have some time sync issues, Locke. We had to I fucked something up, so we had to go back and fix it.
The desync problem.
The desync was crazy.
No, you did great, dude. What a great video too. Just perfect length too. Awesome. Can't wait for your next one.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way. Yeah,
thank you. Dude.
As he said, I've been meaning to say that to you for days now.
Thank you. Well, Micah got it covered, dude. If I get a compliment from Micah, that's the entire Moriarty family.
Oh yeah, she was watching it. Yeah, so
she was very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone's been great.
What's your plan for? Like, are you going to have some sort of schedule, or are you just going to do it as you feel?
I'm just doing it. I'm doing it mostly for fun, just right now, just whenever I can get something out.
Yeah, and you can establish yourself a little bit in that. Yeah. in that domain,
that space. Yeah,
it's a fun place to be. I love YouTube, dude.
Yeah, YouTube is good shit.
Yeah, YouTube is excellent.
Cool. All right, Colin, what about you? Anything?
I don't know. Is anyone even doing a good job right now? I think everyone seems to be doing a nice job. I don't really have. I mean, I in my notes, I still couldn't even figure anything out that I really wanted to compliment. So I'll just say to keep it up for everyone that in the Last Stand family. I think everyone's doing a really nice job. I was looking at stats yesterday, and shows are. I think Summon Sign is doing like 15% of our traffic now, which is pretty awesome. Nice. And I think makes it our second biggest show.
Whoa.
In audio. On video, I don't know how that would all work out. So we're doing great. Everyone's doing great. You're doing great. Locke, you're doing great. And I'm just really happy with how everyone's doing right now. Like, we seem to be fairly stable, and it's a tough time in the games industry right now. I just think people are trying to figure out how to cultivate audiences and how to serve those audiences. And I think one of the things that we do really well is not being too broad, where we don't do an incredible amount of traffic, which is, I would love to do a bunch of traffic. That would be awesome. But that we've really found our people. And so like that we're delivering for them consistently, I think is awesome and deserves a round of applause, especially in such a fickle field like internet content, where people come and go and they disappear and they're inconsistent. So yeah, I think for us, we're doing a great job, and soon keep it off to Jeff Keighley, because I think he's going to be on the hot seat soon, and he's going to be hopefully delivering some cool stuff as well. 4 days from when we're recording, I think.
That was Mike Keep It Us for Jeff Keighley putting together this whole kind of thing, keeping that spirit alive, I guess, of whatever of E3 that people kind of liked. Of course, it's not E3 by any means in scope or anything like that, but it is cool. He does get publishers together to share their games and all that kind of stuff, does like a show, has a plaything for the press and all the stuff. That's really cool. I appreciate all that kind of stuff. So E3 as it was, and like how Colin knew it, will never come back. I don't think ever, but it's an evolving thing.
I also just don't think there's a need for it anymore.
There's definitely not as much. Anyone can do anything they can stream whatever they want anytime.
Any game,
you don't need a big press conference.
Anyone that was anyone in any game that was any game was at E3 15 years ago. And it's like, how could you even do that today? Even in the LA Convention Hall, and times have just changed. I think, COVID just accelerated it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Also keep it up to the Hall effect.
Yeah, the Hall effect, baby. Not used in any controllers, though. Keep that shit up. All right, this is from Ding Dong. Keep it up, PlayStation. Yeah, you've made some questionable decisions lately, but credit where it's due. This Days of Play promotion was a win. I was able to grab the PS5 Pro, the disc drive, and a few games on sale. Can't wait to finally try out Gran Turismo 7 and dive into VR with the Pro. Man, Gran Turismo 7 in VR is so rad.
That's what Dustin
said.
Shit.
Yeah. It's so cool, man. It's incredible.
Cool.
I loved it. But yeah, this Days of Play thing, the Pro was like, what, $50 off right now?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
that's insane.
We were talking about it on the show, where I think a PS5 is now cheaper than an Xbox Series S, and a PS5 Pro is cheaper than the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte. So because people, I wrote that in the comments and then I saw some people like, or in the description about how it seems like it's a move to kind of be aggressive towards Xbox and to continue to proliferate their console at the same time that they're raising prices. And people are like, what does one have to do with the other? And I'm like, are you kidding? Like they just watched their competitor raise prices and they're lowering that. They didn't need to lower the price of the console. They're being mega aggressive, maybe even eroding any sort of immediate monetary value in them for them as far as net value is concerned in order to drive console sales. And I love the level of aggression. I think it's a super aggressive move. And I'm I was really surprised by it when I saw it, because Days of Play is always good sales for games, especially and everything, but they really are going aggressive with the hardware. The only hardware that's conspicuously missing from the sales is Portal, mostly because they can't make enough of them. I don't think so.
Yeah. What is it now with Call of Duty? It's like $400, I think.
Right. Yeah, and it's called Call of Duty bundle.
With Call of Duty.
This is what I'm saying, where I just think it's a non-zero chance that the next Xbox doesn't come out, though I think it will. It's like at this point, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
These might be all deals between Activision and Sony, but I don't know. So
yeah, Series S is like, let me see how much this is on their website. $379. So for $20 more, you can get a PS5 digital with Call of Duty.
But that's only in the US, right? Because I remember here they raised.
I don't know what it is there. I have
they raised the prices here not so long ago. Yeah.
So yeah, very aggressive right now, which is smart. Like you're saying, Colin, they're just taking them out slowly. Like they stabbed them and they're slowly bleeding out.
I said it on Sacred that if you're buying a PlayStation, you're a potential Xbox customer and you might be an Xbox customer, but you're a potential Xbox customer, potential Game Pass customer. And quite simply, every time you go and buy a PlayStation instead, you're just removing that person from the field. And there's something really valuable about that. The Xbox console sales are abysmal. Yeah. It might be like an average of 1 million a quarter, which is really bad.
Really bad. Really bad.
Do you think if they were quiet 2 years ago instead of shooting themselves in the foot, they would do way better now? Because they have really good games now.
Yeah, I think
they have Avowed, they had Indie, they had. What if they kept them exclusive? Do you think they would be fine now?
Yeah, I think I made one of my videos was about how I think Activision is what pushed them over the edge, and that if they simply never made that acquisition, but everything else stayed the same, they would probably be in a pretty powerful position. Sans Call of Duty, but you would still have all the Bethesda stuff that came out, like you said, Indie, and you'd have the Xbox Studio stuff like Avowed, and it would be different. It would be different. It is sad for the Xbox fan base, no doubt, and I feel it for them. Like where it's like you actually did finally get into a position where things might have gotten interesting, but the plug was pulled because of the Activision deal. You just flew too close to the sun. The money is just too much. Now you're putting Call of Duty bundles for PlayStation when Activision's owned by Xbox. It doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, it is clear. I forget the guy's name. I have a picture of him on my phone because I'm ready to respond to anyone that busts balls about, Xbox still to these days, but it's like the Japanese soldiers that would surrender like years after the war was over and like in some random Philippine island. And you're like, it's over, dude. Like you can come out now. You don't have to, everything's done.
He surrendered.
Yeah. It's good now. Everybody's fine.
Phil has surrendered.
So, interesting times, no doubt. But yeah, this was the time for them to execute. Like this was what they were trying to do. And it just didn't happen in time. I also just think Game Pass is relatively stagnant and they need to find those a la carte sales, and they're getting them by the millions on PlayStation. And Switch 2, of course, is going to, I mean, for me, I think it's already been very real with Forza for a lot of people, but I don't care about Forza. And that's sold millions of copies already. I think several million copies on PlayStation. But Gears is going to be the real one for me in August, where I'm like, that's the surreal moment. Because even Pentiment, which I loved and I platinumed, it's like, yeah, it's an Xbox game, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's like an Xbox game, and that's going to be fucking strange times. So,
dude, keep it up to Xbox. Letting me cancel Game Pass 3 times within less than a year and getting a full refund every single time.
It doesn't even make any sense. It's like forced theft.
Like I just beat Doom in like 10 days or more, Full refund.
I don't know
Like,
why
okay.
I don't know why they do that. Like I don't
Yeah, it's like,
I don't
okay.
know. And it goes to show you that they're not even interested in the money. They're interested in the MAU. It's so
Yeah.
and how they make substantially less money than Sony with 5 times more MAU. It's weird. It's like maybe you want to actually focus on the money.
Yeah.
I felt bad when that only happened to me once because I got Game Pass to play Halo, and then I just ended up buying Halo, the Master Chief Collection anyway on Xbox. So I didn't want to keep subscribing. But after I canceled, it was like, yeah, you want your money back? And it was like no option to be like, no. Like I feel like I got a good deal here, and you can take the $20 or whatever. But they're like, no, you can have your money back. I'm like, all right. I mean, fair enough.
If you say so, sure, I'll take it.
Just think about this. If that's happening to you, that's happening to many, many people. And that's the craziest part of all. It's not like you're unique or special in that way. They don't know who you are, right? They don't know who I am. And that wouldn't probably matter anyway. It's like, yeah, just see, that's probably happening to millions of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, that they let you do it over and over again is even weirder. You think there would be like a simple binary check mark that's like, we've done this once and you're not doing it again.
Yeah.
And I think everyone would understand.
Yeah. It's on the same account. I'm not making new accounts.
Right.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it. Doom, I'll get to Doom. I wanted to have played Doom already, but the trophies are broken. So
yeah, that's weird.
I'm waiting.
Huh. Yeah, they got to fix that.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Wibble. Hey, y'all. A quick keep it up to Locke for recommending Drova a couple months back.
Oh.
I don't think this little gem of a game would have caught my attention without him talking about it on LSM. There you go,
awesome.
Locke. And he made a video on that on your channel.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fantastic game. Great game. Wow.
Yeah. Very nice.
So glad it's selling well.
All right. This is from the Pale Midget from the new Mad Max movie. Is that still like a derogatory term? I have no idea.
It depends on who you ask, but I'm rolling with it.
That's what their name is. I gotta read it. Hey guys, I wanted to give it a keep it up to retro handhelds. It feels weird to call a DS retro, but I guess it's true now.
Ugh.
I've been digging through Dragon Quest IX on my Lite, and it feels so good to bring it to my blue collar job when I wouldn't dare bring my Steam Deck. I miss when handhelds were smaller, cheaper, and more portable. Keep up the good work. Yeah, Steam Deck is humongous. It's crazy big.
Yeah.
I remember when I held one, I was like, what the fuck, dude? How? It's like this wide. It's insane, dude. And I get it. People love it, but it's not very portable. It feels like to me. I mean, technically it is, but you know what I mean? It's not like the old days, Colin, where we'd put a fucking Game Boy in our pocket or something like that.
Yeah, I love the Game Boy Pocket. The Game Boy Pocket specifically was.
Yeah, the Game Boy Pocket.
Playing Dragon Quest IX on the job site, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. It's like John, get in the fucking crane, you know, and they're like, oh, he's like, stop, I'm just casting ice magic on this goblin.
Yeah. Wait.
By the way, I never heard of this game Drova. I'm looking at it now. It looks cool. This is what I'm saying. There's just so many. The fuck is this game? You know, like, where did this game come from? Yeah, it's got a 6,700 overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's like, it's impossible, man. I don't know what's going on.
Have you ever heard of Gothic? It is like
the series Gothic.
Yeah, it's like a CRPG game.
Yeah, I know that.
It's basically Gothic, but in pixelated form, which is awesome. It's so cool.
Cool. Yeah, CRPG is definitely not for me, but it's just crazy how many of these fucking
Yeah. Speaking of Game Boy Pocket, Colin, let me send you one right here. I remember seeing the ad for this and being like, damn, I want that. Never got it.
Oh, yeah, dude. I never had this one either. I had the clear one. Do they have
Oh, I don't know about. I remember that was a color one, like the. My brother had the clear purple one.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this picture now. I think this is the one I had. And then the Game Boy Color. No, the Game Boy Color was purple.
Yeah. There was the purple one, and then there was the clear purple one.
Right. I had a solid. I think my Game Boy Color had a solid purple, and then I had the white, the Arctic White Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, there was like a blue translucent one as well, I think.
God, I loved that shit. So I loved Nintendo handhelds, man. They were so fucking good. But there's just no need for them anymore.
Yeah. Well, because there's a Switch.
Well, except for the pale midget from the new Mad Max movie. He wants to fight fucking blue slimes at the job site while
Hey, dude.
while Fred and Jose are trying to get the fucking pipes fitted, and he's over there doing side quests.
Gotta get it done, man. Colin, did I ever tell you when I worked at a pizza place, I had the portable PS1?
Oh yeah, PSONE, yeah.
And I would play Symphony of the Night at work during it.
That's nerdy as fuck.
Yeah, dude.
Love that.
It was good shit, though.
Oh,
all right.
The PS1 was really cool.
Yeah.
I only knew one person that had the TV thing, my friend Mark Ryan, who actually hired me at IGN. And I remember driving to E3 with him in 2003, and he was playing Street Fighter like Alpha or something on his lap.
Cool.
Using I guess it would have been what would it have been? Like, I guess you would have plugged it into the cigarette thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they probably made some sort of adapter like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Good shit, man.
All right. Boys, I introduced a new segment for the show I'm going to try out.
Oh.
This is like, whoops, I'm on the wrong tab. But like just a game recommendation. I'm taking one game recommendation from the audience, not necessarily for us, because we get enough of that shit already. But this is just for everybody listening. Since this is a show talking about games, why not get some recommendations out there?
Cool.
It's from Aaron Robb. Greetings, Summoners. I'm sure you'll get a few underrated game suggestions. I'm here to offer something different. The game is a Blade Runner neo-noir detective walking simulator called Nobody Wants to Die. It mixes very basic detective work of searching for clues and fitting together each crime scene. To fit together what happened, you rewind time with each clue and see a shadow of what happened. Each crime scene pulls a larger narrative thread. Finally, the game can be beaten and platinum in under 10 hours. Where it excels and why I recommend it is the atmosphere, the story, and the runner vibes. I hope the community will check it out. Thanks, and keep on keeping on. There you go. I saw this. I was like, I've never heard of this game.
This game looks awesome. I remember seeing it last year. It released a year ago on Steam. I don't know if it released on the same time on consoles, but it looks super cool if you look at it.
Okay.
It's like a mix between Cyberpunk and Blade Runner. Looks so cool.
Hell yeah, dude. Dude, perfect. It worked right on lock immediately.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get this one. I completely forgot about this game until we just brought it up.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to play it for like a year. Yeah,
well awesome. Done.
What a cool segment. Yeah, I like that. It's cool.
Lockmort, I'm very excited for this one. You've been playing The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the first time, and you have not been spoiled about anything on this game. And you've been going blind, no walkthrough, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
That is
tell
correct.
Us your adventures.
Well, I have no affinity with Zelda. I played Link's Awakening when I was a kid on my Game Boy a very long time ago. I don't know when it was, 30 years ago, I imagine, something like that. And that's my only affinity I ever had with Zelda, was playing Link's Awakening. And then years later, 25 years later, I guess, I played Breath of the Wild on my Switch. And then last year or 2 years ago, I played Tears of the Kingdom. And that was basically it. That's all the Zelda I ever played. But now that I'm getting older and close to death, I guess, I want to go back and rectify all the stuff I missed from my childhood. So last year, for me, was the year of the JRPG. So I wanted to go back to the JRPGs I never gave a fair shot, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I adored, or Rebirth, which I also really liked. So that was last year. And this year, I want to go back to the classics of Nintendo that I missed. Not just Nintendo. I also want to go back to Metal Gear Solid, for instance. But the other series I really want to get back to, or want to get to, really, was Zelda. So I was looking what the best way to play Ocarina of Time was. And everybody told me that it was best played on the 3DS, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't have a 3DS. So I looked up what the second best way to play it is. And people kept recommending me this PC fan-made port called The Ship of Harkinian, I think it's called. And what that basically does is you need an official ROM of the game. So you have to buy the game still, and then you have to rip the ROM off the game. And then when you install this port over it, it basically upgrades it to 60 FPS. It gives you full Xbox controller support. And then you can download a texture pack, which makes it look like HD, and it makes it look beautiful, basically. So I started the game and I knew nothing about it because I didn't want to use a guide and I didn't know anything about it. So when I started it, I immediately fell completely in love with it. I was in complete awe because this game gives you a sense of adventure that so many games lack these days, which I wasn't expecting at all. This game gave me something that I haven't experienced in, I want to say, maybe over a decade, where anything is possible and there's surprises around every corner and you learn constant new gameplay mechanics and you get constant new equipment that opens up new pathways and the levels are interconnected. And I as soon as I started playing it, Brett, we were talking privately about it. I can't get enough of it. I love it so much. It immediately starts when the main menu music hits and you see Link riding on his horse, and I was immediately in. I thought, I'm going on an adventure. This is so cool. But again, I knew nothing about the game. So when it started and you get that eerie dream sequence, I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like a little bit scary. I like that. This is not what I expected. And then you wake up in the forest and everything is wholesome and little whimsical, and you talk with every little elf in that town. What is it called? Kokiri Forest? Or what is it?
Forest,
yeah. So you talk to everyone and it's so nice and it's so friendly. But then I discovered that it's all about exploration too, because you have to explore the entire village to find your sword, which is then hidden behind that little cavern there. And then you have to go into the shop and you have to buy your little shield so you can get to the tree. And when I entered the shop, that's when I first realized, like, oh, I've heard the music of this game in every single YouTube video I've ever seen. Or not even YouTube videos, just in every single essay or whatever. Just the music in this game is so recognizable. I've seen it so many times everywhere, which was so cool because that immediately made it recognizable to me. So I got to the tree. I did the whole platforming stuff. I did the puzzle, shooting the spiders out of the air, which was cool because solving little puzzles like that makes you feel really smart. The game does a great job of incentivizing you that way and making you feel like you accomplished something, even though it's pretty easy, of course. But then I got to the end boss in the tree, in the, what's it called? Deku tree, I guess. And it was that spider boss that jumps up to the ceiling. And that's when I started having issues with the camera. I think maybe it's down to the mod. I don't know. You guys can tell me if it's down to the game or to the mod. But the camera was a disaster here for me. Whenever I started aiming, the monster would jump away, or I couldn't get it right, and it was so frustrating to me. Is that normal in this game, or is that
Z targeting?
Were you locking on?
You were locked on?
Oh.
It wasn't looking on, but
well, you're supposed to. I mean, the idea, and it probably is because you're playing with a mod. You're playing with twin sticks.
I'm playing on an Xbox controller.
Yeah. So I mean, the game is meant to be played on a single stick with Z targeting, which is like the trigger button on the N64 controller, and that locks on to enemies for you, and it keeps the camera. It keeps like wherever the enemy goes, the camera will follow.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I played Ocarina time again recently, so I feel like that is exactly the way it works. So it's probably because of you're not Z target. You're trying to manually target at it as opposed to like
were you trying to manually aim at it, Locke?
Well, yes and no. When you lock onto an enemy, so the Z targeting, I guess the game also tells me that's called Z targeting. That's when things seemed like it was going wrong for me, because I had this with every boss in the game. The boss in like the what's it called, like the water thing where the Goron village, I think, where you have to run around
cavern, the dinosaur.
The only way I could kill that boss was off screen, just chucking bombs off screen. Because every time I tried to target him, the camera would just flip me around, and I couldn't do it anymore.
There's something wrong with the way.
That sounds like something's wrong with it.
Something's wrong with the mod. See, I didn't know because I didn't want to look it up, but I figured that was the problem because I'm only having that problem with bosses. So maybe that part.
If you have footage, send it to me sometime. And I'll look at it.
Yeah, I'll
see if it's normal.
Yeah, because I do remember Z targeting was confusing to everyone, but the game didn't. This game doesn't freak out like that or anything like that. Like it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it shouldn't be doing that.
I would love to know what you would think of the game on N64 with an N64 controller playing it the way it looked. I would be interested to also know like what you would think of them.
The texture, I was looking at this and it does look very artistically pretty much the same as how it did back then. Of course, it's higher resolution and stuff, but
that's all right.
The spirit is still there, I would say.
Do you have Switch Online?
I do. Well, I did. I don't have a Switch anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because that's where I played it a few years ago for Knockback, and I had to remap the controller heavily, but because I don't have the N64. There is an N64 controller.
Yes, there is.
Right? I don't
so much better with that.
I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm fucking positive. Yeah. I hate that controller, but I'm very used to it, and I hated that controller from the very beginning. I was like, this thing is. I don't know what the fuck this thing is.
It's a weird controller.
But because I remember when we got it, I didn't really even know how to hold it because I wanted to hold it on the edges, and you quickly learn that you hold it asymmetrically. There's no controller like that.
Yeah, it's very strange,
except for like the Wiimote, I guess, and stuff. Yeah, so I feel like what you're describing is not natural. No.
Okay, that's what I figured because I only have it with bosses, not with normal enemies.
Okay, we're back. We just had a quick technical snafu. Locke can't see us or hear us very well, so if there's any weird pause or anything like that, that's the reason why. But we'll get through it.
It's my fault. It's our Euro internet.
It's not your fault.
Well, I tested my internet while we were gone, and my internet is fine. So I don't know. Maybe it's Zencast. I don't know what it is. But as I was saying, so in the game, the camera was giving me trouble, right? But that's not the game's fault. That's obviously the mod's fault, we know now. So I can't fault the game for that. That was basically my only issue with the game. And I kept wondering if that was because of the mod or the game itself. But now I know it is a mod. But as soon as I got rid of that boss and the tree withers away and tells you what to do, and you get out to Hyrule Field and the world opens up, I was in complete awe because the sense of adventure and exploration and seeing things in the distance was so cool. The art style looked so beautiful. But what really got me impressed was when I was walking to the castle and it suddenly became night and their enemies sprawled up from on the ground, and the drawbridge closed and opened up again. And there was a very fast day and night cycle. I was like, oh, this is so cool. There are so many mechanics in this game that I had no idea that were there. So then you get to the castle market and it all looks adorable. It all looks, all the people are dancing and having fun and it all looks cool. And then you get to the shop and that same music plays again. Like you fight your way to the castle, go around the guards. And that's when I also realized like, oh, there are maybe Metroidvania elements in this game too. Because when you get to the castle, there's this big boulder, but I didn't have any bobs yet. So I figured, I must be able to come back here later and do it then, I guess. But then you get to Princess Zelda, and she gives you your quest, basically, your Ocarina. And that's when I really fell in love with this game because you could play like cool little tunes on it, which is so cool. It's so, I don't know if wholesome is the right word, but it made me feel like a kid again almost. It made me feel like I was discovering this new game that everybody loved and that I had no idea. Well, that's basically what happened, and that I had no idea about, and now I could finally experience it too in the best way possible, except for the camera at the bosses, I guess. So playing those little tunes and then exploring the world, going to the Lon Ranch and hearing the horsey song. What's the horse called? Epona,
yeah.
Epona. Hearing that song and being able to play it, remembering all these tunes. And then when you get to the village, you're gonna have to help me again. Kakariko. Thank you so much. Because they don't say it in the game, so I don't know how to pronounce.
It would take up the entire memory of the.
Yeah. But then you get to the village and you have to gather all the chickens, which I never could finish, by the way. It's like a side quest, I guess. But there's always 2 chickens I couldn't get to. I don't know where they are. I could hear them, but I could never find them. So I guess they're somewhere. But there's these fun little mini games everywhere. And you get to the graveyard and you find these 2 ghosts, and then you go down the tomb and you learn another tune, which is so cool. And then you can make the sun go down or go up and just change the day-night cycle, which is so... I love it when a game teaches you like new mechanics like that, but it all flows together organically. Because I wasn't really looking for that. I just came to that village to go to Goron City, but then I accidentally ended up in the graveyard, killed those 2 ghosts, read their little gravestone, and learned that new tune, which now made the nights go way faster. And then you get to Goron City, which made me laugh because the chief dances really funny if you play a little song. And then you get to the cavern and you learn the bombs. Again, new mechanics, constantly new mechanics, which is so awesome. I don't know why games do that anymore. I wrote in my notes that it's the opposite of a Ubisoft game. Because what a Ubisoft game does is it teaches you all the mechanics in the first hour, and then here you go, 100 hours of the same thing. And this is the exact opposite. Like, it gives you new mechanics every couple of hours, which keeps it so interesting, so much fun. Because then you get to Zora's Domain, and you get to dive into the water, you get to boomerang. There's so many cool new weapons and so many cool new things that you constantly learn. I felt like I was constantly learning new things in this game. But then what also really surprised me was when you get like the 3 spiritual stones, which you have to get in the beginning, of course. I was like, okay, am I done now? Is the game over? That's pretty cool, but it's pretty fast. And then you get back to the castle, and then Zelda gets kidnapped, and you get a whole new Ocarina.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game does one of the best things any game or movie can do. I love it when any game or movie does this, is there's a time jump. And it skips 7 years into the future, and suddenly you're a grown-up Link, which is so cool. I had no idea that would happen in this game. And then
I was shocked when you didn't know that. I was blown away.
I have no idea. Of course, I've seen like images of this game when I was a kid, of course, but I've never. Every time people talked about it or it popped up and anywhere, I was like, I didn't play it, so I don't know. But then you get back to the marketplace and it's filled with zombies, and you go outside and you go to the village and the little kids have grown up, or you go back to the ranch and you can now actually get the horse and ride on it. It's so cool. This is the part where I got, because I went to the graveyard, I got the hook shot, and I went to the forest temple, and that's it. That's all I played.
Okay.
But it sounds like I only played it for like a couple of hours, but because I'm not using a guide, this whole thing took me, I think, 15 to 16 hours, which is a lot of time for an old game like this. I figured since this was an old game, I would be able to complete it in a couple of hours. I had no idea how expansive it was, how exploration filled it was, how whimsical it was, how fun it was to play. So, man, I cannot wait to get to the other Zelda games. People tell me this is the best one. I don't know if that's true, but I cannot wait to go further into the series and play the other ones as well.
It's the one that definitely set the foundation for the series for a very long time after. In my opinion, it's still an excellent game. It's one of my favorites and holds up really well.
Nice.
And I guess your playthrough is a proof of that, just how much you're enjoying it and how great so much of it is still. Colin, I know you're a fan of this as well, too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I love Ocarina of Time. I like Majora's Mask more out of those two N64 games. I just think it's a bolder and more different game, but I have very fond memories of getting it. I remember I was in 9th grade. It was the fall of 98. It was like everything to me and my friends. We were fucking obsessed with it. And I was not super hot on the N64. Or I liked the N64 a lot, but I was becoming much more of a PlayStation person, especially by 98. So like N64 had these games, like quarterly games or so, that would draw you back to the console, or maybe even 2 or 3 a year that were like really big, and you would go play. But otherwise I'd be on PlayStation. And so it was one of those games. And and I love it. It's funny you say that it sets the predicate in a lot of ways. I feel like it is a 3D version of Link to the Past.
Yeah, it is.
And I would be interested to know what it's funny. I'm like smiling. He's like, what Lockmort's describing. And he's like, I like this. And then you pass by the cracked wall or the boulder and, you can come back to it and you get these new items. It's like, dude, you're going to love all the old Zelda games. I mean, they're going all the way back to, maybe not Zelda 2, but Zelda 1, Link to the Past. And, you already played Link's Awakening. So like those 3 are similar, especially Link to the Past, in which you do something in the beginning very similar, and then it seems like it's over, but it's not anywhere near over, and then it turns into something else.
Oh, I love that.
And I would say it would be between Link to the Past and Zelda 1 and Majora's Mask for my favorite Zelda game, personally.
Oh, okay, cool.
The original is so good. In my opinion, it's fucking sick.
If you play the game without a guide, good luck, man.
Yeah, it's
that
really
game's hard as fuck to figure out what to do.
Now, Locke, you said you didn't use a guide for Ocarina of Time?
No, nothing. No
so
guide.
You did the water temple straight up.
No, he hasn't done it yet. He's at the forest temple.
Oh, yes, I see.
I saw the water temple in Zora's Domain, but I couldn't enter, which is what I was saying, which is so cool because you can see where you have to go later
Yeah.
on, I guess, but you can't get there yet.
Yeah, not yet. You don't have access to it, so you still got quite a ways to go still.
And
But
which
yeah.
version are you playing?
It's the 3DS version.
Okay, so I was asking because I'm pretty sure, didn't they modify the water temple in the 3DS version?
Yeah, they made some tweaks to make it a little
Easier,
smoother.
Oh, okay.
So it shouldn't be as hard.
So you're saying that you basically need a guide for that part?
No,
or-
No, you don't need one, but I used the guide the first time I played through Ocarina of Time because I bought it with the game.
Oh,
I used to love
yeah.
I used to buy the physical strategy guides for lots of games. So I would not be like using it beat for beat, but if I got lost or if I was in a temple and frustrated, I would go and just use it.
Yeah,
Sure.
you'll be all right, Locke. I beat it when I was 11 with no guide. You can do it.
Oh, even I can.
Yeah, you can do it.
Well, so far, it. I don't mind that it's taking me a long time because I really
enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, of course I'm enjoying it, but it's making me feel something that I haven't felt playing a game in years, maybe even over a decade. It brings me such joy to just do stuff in this world and just get like tiny accomplishments, and it fills me with a joy that I haven't had playing a video game in a very long time. So I guess maybe that's why people love Nintendo games. I guess I don't know because I'm not. I didn't grow up with Nintendo, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, excellent, dude. I look forward to hearing your full thoughts when you finish it. I'm very excited. Really good. And when you move on to future Zeldas.
Yeah.
I have to just go yell at the dogs. You guys keep going.
Okay. Let's see here, Locke. This is from the Uncharted Wolf. Hey, Summoners. Locke, how's Ocarina of Time holding up for you? Do you think anything about the dungeon and combat design has aged? Has there been a moment of realization why it's considered one of the greatest games of all time? Or are you unimpressed? I first played it through the 3DS version and loved it, with nothing feeling aged to me at all. Even with going back to the N64 original, thanks for all you guys do. Well, Locke, the camera has aged, like we were saying, in a lot of ways. You seem to be having a not intended experience from the game. But even without that, there was no 2 analog sticks or anything like that, so
sure,
it is a struggle every now and then. But how has like the dungeon design been for you and all that kind of stuff?
I love the dungeon design. I was just thinking about that, like in Zora's Domain, where you have to pick up the princess and carry her around basically, and find your way back to the first entrance. But you also need the stone that she needs there, so you have to go back to where you already came from. But now you can put her down on like that little pedestal, so the door can open up. All these level designs are so intricate. It kind of reminds me. It's gonna sound stupid, but it kind of reminds me of Dark Souls in a way, because all the rooms are so interconnected. And once you finish a dungeon, or once you finish an area, I always have that aha thought, like, if I do this again, I can do this, because I spent so much time in these dungeons. I can do this again in like 10 minutes if I want to, I think. Because it's all about memory, and it's all about remembering where to go. And you can basically run around every enemy. You don't have to kill the enemies as long as you get to the boss, I guess, or as long as you don't have to kill them in a room to open up the door.
Sometimes you have to kill them to like get a key to drop or something like that.
Yeah. But and I think, again, the exploration, so I think it aged wonderfully, and I think the exploration is something that I just wasn't expecting. I was expecting like a linear video game here, like just go from point A to B, not here's an entire map, go wherever you want, or well, not go wherever you want, but go and explore and find some cool shit to do. I can't, but how old is this game? When does this came out? 1998?
1998 was when it came out.
That's insane. That's the same year as Baldur's Gate 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I, of course, when I was a kid, I bought Baldur's Gate 1, and for me, that was heaven. But I think if I would have gotten this as a kid, it would have been the same thing. This game is immaculate, amazing. I can fully understand why people call it their favorite game of all time. Absolutely.
Well, this pleases me, Lockmort. This is good news for me. Excellent. All right, final game here. Colin, Borderlands 2, did you actually start it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, let's talk about Borderlands.
I played it for maybe 10 hours or so this weekend. People know this game, 2012, iconic game. It was just so huge when it came out in the industry, and the shift codes, and it was just everywhere. And it was just a huge seller. And I remember it was like one of the Game of the Year contenders that year. And What won in 2012? Would it have been Journey, I guess?
Maybe, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone knows what it is. You've been exposed to this. There's a third game. There's the pre-sequel, obviously, and the fourth one comes out this summer. But as I've explained many times, is that I've spent probably cumulatively between Borderlands 1, 2, and 3 at least 100 before this year, 100 hours probably with all of them, and never beat any of them. It's like I'd get really deep into Borderlands 1, be like, and then I'd like restart it and then get really deep and just not do it. And then Borderlands 2, I spent a lot of time with. I even played it on Vita and other things and wasn't into it. Borderlands 3 is the one I played the most. It's probably 2/3 of the time I've spent with Borderlands was with that game, and I still didn't beat it, but I got really far into that too. And I actually think I didn't beat it because I got to this one part that I couldn't frustratingly do by myself, basically. Like it was just so overwhelming, and I'm like, fuck this game. It was also around the time that I was moving to Virginia, so I just got distracted and moved on to other things. So with Borderlands 4 coming out, I never played the pre-sequel, or I did start it up and try it, but I was like, I don't need to play this. And I remember that game being weird because it came to PS3 the year after PS4 came out, but you couldn't play it on PS4, and it was strange. And then they ported it. So I'm playing the PS4 version that comes with, that's Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel in a package together. And it's got all the DLC and shit too. And I discovered last night when I was shutting the game off, I was just kind of dicking around the PSN, and I was like, oh, there's a PS4 Pro texture pack for this game. You have to download it separately. And it's like 15 gigs. And so tonight I probably won't even get to play tonight, but tomorrow I'll check that out as well. But runs at 60 frames and looks great. And earlier in the year, I played through all of Borderlands 1, actually probably late last year into this year, like over the break. And so I was like, oh, I actually beat Borderlands 1. That was cool. So, and that was the PS4 version as well. So then I was like, I downloaded this and it's just been sitting there on my cross media bar. And I was like, you know what? I want to play a shooter. I was in the mood for Doom. I was like, oh, I'm going to get into Doom. And then reading about Doom, I always just go make sure everything's up to snuff, especially with Doom games, because the Doom trophies are often broken when they launch. This happened with Eternal and 2016. And I don't know what that's all about, but I went and I realized there's a specific trophy that's broken, which is using getting all of the skills, I guess, or using all the skill points, but it will only work if you save all of the skill points and use them all at one time, apparently. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. So some people are playing it like that because they want to get the trophy. And I'm not fucking playing the game like that. So I'm like, I'll just wait. They'll patch it. It'll be fixed. So, but I wanted to get my shooter hankering and, satiated. And I played a few boomer shooters earlier this year that I really liked. So I was like, well, something maybe a little more modern, but not too modern. And I was like, well, Borderlands 2 is sitting right there. And I can continue to like kind of carve these games out, hopefully in time for Borderlands 4's launch late summer. So yeah, 10 hours in playing as the shooter, like the commando character or whatever. I always play as the machine gun using, weapons using character. There's a lot of cool, sophisticated characters to use in the Borderlands games as they go. And I think this even has a couple of extra classes in it that were added as DLC.
Yeah.
Because there's 6 total classes. And I remember there being 4 when the game came out. So something happened in there. And I like to just use the traditional character. So I'm doing that. And the story's cool. Mike and I were talking about it because she's a big fan of Borderlands, and people are really hard on this game in retrospect in terms of its millennial cringe humor and its very weird writing and all of that. But I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't like this revision for things I was around for. I always bring up Creed and like Limp Bizkit and shit. It's like, you motherfuckers loved Creed.
Not me. I was there day one talking shit on Borderlands 2.
Oh, on Borderlands 2.
Yep.
I thought you were talking about Creed. I'm like,
no.
Don't talk bad about Creed.
No.
And so those are just jokes, but it's like everyone hates on these things now. It's like, dude, they're like a fucking.
I know people love that shit.
Like 17 times platinum or something. It's like, someone was into it. I mean, and I feel that way about Borderlands 2, where I'm like, yeah, the writing hasn't aged well, and obviously Borderlands 3 brought it to the crazy extent where people bring up, like the villains or streamers, and it's like, it's all fucking weird. And that I'm really interested to see what Borderlands 4 is all about, because I feel like it's not going to be like that, and or they better fucking hope it's not like that, and for their own sake. I mean, I guess what I'm getting to is that it ages better than I thought it would, just based on the way people talk about it. There's some shit that makes me laugh out loud, like just some funny lines and deliveries, and there's just stupid shit going on in the game, but really, it's not about that. And ultimately, the further I get into it, which is very similar to Borderlands 1, I'm just not even paying attention to the story anymore, because it really is all about that Ubisoft quest grind. It's not a Ubisoft game, but just that idea of just doing what's there and checking boxes and getting stronger and just enjoying the gameplay loop. It's somewhat Far Cry-esque. It's not as good as Far Cry. I mean, Far Cry is fucking awesome. But just playing something so fun that it doesn't really matter what's going on, or it's so silly and outrageous and it doesn't really matter that it's not grounded. And so Borderlands 2 is kind of a masterful game in that respect. And the one thing that I'm excited to do, and I'll do it after or around the time I get to the end of the game, but maybe not beat it yet, is there's all the DLC, and I've not played any of the DLC. And I thought, and including a DLC pack that you have to buy still that I might, depending on how I feel at the end. That was the one that came out in 2019, which I thought was super cool when they did that, where they just randomly released a piece of Borderlands 3 DLC and it connected to Borderlands 2 DLC that connected to Borderlands 3. And I thought that was fucking super cool. It's $15 still. So we'll see how I feel about it. But all the other DLCs in there's like 6 or 7 expansions. And I'm like, yeah, I've never played any of this. And I have to say, with the Borderlands 1 DLC, which I also didn't play until I had the Game of the Year edition, I started to fuck around with that. And I'm like, I'm not really into this. Like, a lot of it was just, there was like that game show one, and there was like a kind of a horde mode one, but there was a couple story driven ones, but I want the story driven ones that kind of Fallout 3, like immerse themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Or like they ingratiate themselves into the experience and you just do them. Like I have to think about Fallout 3, but it's like Point Lookout and Operation Anchorage and all this stuff will open up at different times. But if you start the game fresh with all of them, they show up at different times and they're just an organic part of the game. And I think that's fucking super cool.
Yeah.
And that's ideal in some sense. You have to wait for it, but, and then, you have like Point Lookout where you go away, or the pit where you go to Pittsburgh and stuff. And so different maps too. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
So with Borderlands 2, it's a fantastic game. I'm enjoying my time with it. It's nostalgic. There's something very nostalgic and touching about the musical kind of cues, because it's a silent game. And I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but there's just little stings, guitar flourishes, synth kind of coming in and out, just very immersive, very light. And I'm like, man, I remember sitting in my apartment in San Francisco playing this, and there's something about that. And it's very similar to the first game, actually. I think they share a lot of that kind of audio profile. I don't remember the third one as well. So, because I played the third one the most, but I was on so many pharmaceuticals at that point that I probably had no idea what I was even doing. So yeah, shout out to Borderlands 2. I'm going to carve through it. I'm going to download. My intention is to beat it this time. And the older I get, the more disciplined I am about beating games. Mm-hmm. I've always loved to beat games, but I would be more willing to walk away from things I didn't like when I was younger, because games were so much more replayable back then, especially the kind of shit I like to play. And then once you started getting into JRPGs and all that kind of stuff and action, the more sophisticated 3D action games, you start to want to beat them more. And now as I get older, it's rare for me not to beat a game. That's the exception. So I don't want to walk away from Borderlands 2 again. I need to like finish this game forever.
Finish the fight.
Right. That's exactly right. And then maybe get on the Borderlands 3. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It just feels good to play.
Sure. Yeah.
There's something so fun. Micah was saying this actually about just watching, and everyone knows this, but about just watching numbers fly out of an enemy. And I have this incredible grenade that you throw. It's like an orange, level grenade. So like the best kind of equipment you can get, and then throwing it. And then it splits into like 10 more grenades, and then it splits into 10 more grenades. Mm-hmm. And just you just throw it into a group of enemies and just like, just the numbers all popping. I'm like, man, they understood the assignment with not only Borderlands 2, but with Borderlands 1. And it's hard to younger people that weren't playing games, weren't paying attention, or just don't remember. It's like, this was incredibly unique. Like a shooter role-playing game.
Yeah.
Seems logical, but didn't happen really almost at all. And you had random ones, like what was that, Alpha Protocol, right?
Obsidian. Yeah.
And a few others that tried to do things, but yeah, there's just something about Borderlands that's truly unique. And I have confidence in Borderlands 4 and think they've had time to think about things. And I also think Take-Two buying Gearbox is a sign that during Borderlands 4's development is a sign that they're confident in it. They don't typically make dumb decisions. Strauss Zelnick doesn't play video games, but he doesn't fuck around. So yeah, I shout out to Borderlands 2, shout out to Gearbox, and shout out to just the kind of the funny, silly millennial humor that is cringy, but at the time we liked it, and it's cool to go back to that. And you go through the looking glass with Borderlands 3, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, not ready to go back.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's end the show with some write-ins from the audience.
Sure. One thing, if I may.
No, yeah.
Please.
Do you remember the first trailer for Borderlands 1 and it didn't have like the cell shading look? But it looked like realistic?
I remember seeing it in a magazine, yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Block.
Well, no, I was just going to say that it's crazy that they changed that at the last minute, and then it became such a success that they just kept it up. And because before that, it was like realistic, right? It was supposed to be like a realistic shooter, no?
Yeah.
You have to, it was. And you have to read about this. I think I'm remembering the story, but this is, I think what happened is there was like this woman that was behind the original art direction, and she was so aghast. I think this is the way the story goes, that she was like so aghast that they changed the art style that she like, I think quit and never worked in games again. It ended up being a, like you said, masterful choice. I mean, Borderlands' cell shading aesthetic is iconic.
Yeah.
So I remember that too, and it was shown off like that. And Borderlands was in development for a long time, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like in that pocket with like Alan Wake and some of those other games that just wouldn't come out. And but they all ended up working out great at the end. So I remember that, Locke. Yeah, that's true. That did happen. And yeah, people have to go look at that story, but I think that's the way it happened. It's like they kind of pulled one on her in some sense, where they're like, we're changing this.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she was outvoted or whatever it was, where it's like, we're changing this. Like, this is failing. This isn't working. And it might have been the differentiator between that game being, I mean, it's hard to know because the gameplay would have been the same and the game's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fucking fun. Like,
maybe it's just more unique for the vision of the game, I suppose.
Yeah, the silliness plays through a lot more. I don't know enough about the development of the original game, but I if it was always this silly and, weird, then the real art style, I think, would have been strange. And you kind of get a game more like that with Rage, where it's a game that's kind of weird, but more grounded. And the original Rage, I never beat, but I liked a lot more than a lot of people did. I got to get back to that at some point. It would be interesting if Microsoft facilitated a re-release of the original.
Yeah. Well, there's Rage 2. I haven't played that.
Rage 2 I played. I think I beat it, but if I didn't, I got really far into it. But that was made by Avalanche, I think. That wasn't even like an internal game, which was weird.
Yeah.
So
it was fun. Well, what do you think of one of the most notorious video game villains of all time, Handsome Jack? Did you like him in Borderlands 2?
He's cool. I mean, the voice acting's actually, you have to go back and think about the way things were still done back then, and things were getting finer, and we were getting like our Nolan Norths and all of the rest, but there was still a lot of choppy shit going on. Like you can tell in a game like this, even a couple years before, it would have been 4 people doing all of the characters in a weekend in some booth in Irvine or something, and you can tell that they did a lot more to, like Micah was bringing this up, where I guess it's a spoiler, but like one of the characters in the original game, you like go and rescue him. It's fairly early in the game, and it's like a totally different voice actor, but it's like so much better, and it's like more pronounced, and the writing is sharper. So I think it benefited a lot from being kind of a game at that edge. I think that all of that change happened during the PS3 era, when motion capture and performance capture became the thing, as opposed to doing motion capture and then still VO in a booth. It would all be kind of recorded at the same time or often.
Yeah.
And so I think that stuff started to really matter, and I think that's how we get the games that we get now today. So it's an interesting kind of evolutionary. It's like one of the monkeys on the little chart as you become a human. Borderlands is in there somewhere. And again, I brought it up, but I didn't really do it at the time because I wasn't that much of a fiend for the game. But the shift code thing, I think is also an iconic thing that I'm surprised more companies haven't done. And I think that was responsible for keeping the game alive for so long. and in the zeitgeist and selling. Didn't Borderlands? I mean, but I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure Borderlands 2 has sold like 20 million copies or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's still
Borderlands
really well.
2 copies sold 29 million copies.
Yeah,
Wow.
still very well.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Great
So
game.
popular games.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on Borderlands 4's performance. Just because there is a sleeping giant of fan base ready for these games.
Yeah.
I think Borderlands 3 might have even sold more than 10 million, right?
Yeah,
Borderlands
I think it did pretty well.
Sales, 22 million.
Yeah.
So
I think 4 will do fine.
Yeah, whatever they charge for it, I'll buy it. It's fine.
It also looks way more grounded. Did you see the trailer the 30-minute gameplay that they released?
No, I haven't seen any gameplay of it. I just saw. Well, I guess whatever was in that the original introductory trailer, but I don't want to see much of it, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I'll
no, you can explain it. I just I like to be generally surprised, but it's not going to spoil anything for me if it's in the trailer.
To me, it looked like a grown-up version of Borderlands. Like it looked like an actual evolution in the gameplay and the story too. I think it looks. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait. Well, we'll see it next week. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Closing questions from the audience. If you want to write into the show or any of our shows, we post threads on our Patreon calling for your submissions, so keep an eye out there. This is from Nevitz. Hello, summoned guests. I went to Best Buy this weekend for the first time in years. It was very interesting to see the decline of physical games based on the console. Nintendo Switch had a physical and digital games available on shelves. PlayStation only had locked up cards to bring to the checkout counter for physical games. Meanwhile, Xbox had no physical games, but did have digital game cards for purchase. Have any of you been to your local Best Buy and seen this? I had heard of the decline of Xbox store shelf space, but this was the first time I've seen it. Anyways, thanks and happy gaming. I haven't seen it at Best Buy, but at Target.
Target is what I was going to say too.
Zero physical Xbox games. Zero.
I also was fascinated. I remember saying at the time, it might have been on the show when I went to, because when you go to Target, well, at least for me, I go to Target or Walmart once in a while, and then once in a blue moon, I'll be like, let's just walk around and see what's going on. I don't know what's going on. What are the kids buying these days?
Right.
And I remember going to the video game section, and I was actually most surprised by the Switch cards, how there's game cards for all the Switch games, but there were no physical versions of any of them. But you could just buy the card, I guess. And I know that that's not a new thing, but I was surprised that was the consumer facing physical brick and mortar presence for the console. And it really goes to show you how, in my neck of the woods anyway, it's totally, and I assume in most places, it's just fallen off. People don't buy physical games anymore. They
right.
It's a very insular industry hardcore thing. And so it's not a huge surprise. My bigger thing is what is Best Buy doing with all their square footage? Because the last time I went into Best Buy was a few years ago with Dustin, and it was like a mausoleum.
Yeah.
It was like I was literally in Stalin's mausoleum, and you were approaching this central casket. And there was just one display. I'm like, what is going on in here? Well, you don't even need all of this space anymore. What a waste.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We don't even have gaming stores here anymore. They just closed down the last firm we had here, so they don't exist here anymore. And I can't imagine they still sell games in supermarkets here. So I don't think it even exists here anymore, unless you have a real local shop. But other than that, there are no physical stores here anymore for games.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Sign of the times, man.
Yeah, sign of the times, exactly. All right, this is from Justin Soprano. Hey guys. Not trying to beat Colin's head again about this, but you talked about Lies of P in the last Sacred, and they are updating it with difficulty modes. How do you feel about this? Are you going to give it a try? For me, this has made me super excited to try it, as I like everything about Souls games but the difficulty part. Have a good one.
Right. I didn't see this, and we were bringing this up because I said that
the DLC, it's coming.
Right. Okay. Because I was saying with Lies of P because people are always pressing me to play more Souls games. Someone had written in basically and saying, it's time for you to try this and that. And we were going over all the games I've tried, that I've earnestly tried to play these games. And I was saying the one that actually is most appealing to me and that I am open-minded to is Lies of P, because I think it is the most compelling, even though I know exactly what happens at the end because I read about it. And it's fucking super cool. So that's totally, that actually makes me want to play it even more. When I found out the ending actually upped it for me so much, where I was like, really? That's what happens? Cool. So I didn't know about this difficulty mode thing, and I think that if I were to play it, I think I would at least try to play it the way it was.
Yeah, you should try it. Yeah,
because I think difficulty is somewhat in the eye of the beholder, and that these games are on a gradient. Where I've brought up before that I think Nioh is like the hardest, like most brutal 3D Souls game I've ever played. Wherein I think I could manage Bloodborne and so on. And I thought Dark Souls was just stiff. Although I played Dark Souls on PS3, it was probably running like 15 frames a second. Like who even knows what was going on? So Lies of P, I think I will give a go to, but I didn't hear about this. And is this update going to be such that the original is the hard version, and then they're going to have like a medium?
I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but there's just going to be difficulties. I'm not sure.
I wonder how the fan base feels about it, because I know Souls people are very, and reasonably so, are very precious about like the one size fits all difficulty, which I think is part of Souls gaming. I do think I do get that. And so is Lies of P trying to be something else? Can it be the game that bridges the divide or threads the needle and speaks to both as a sort of Venn diagram, where it does get Souls people and it's like, just play it like this, but we're also going to try to do this for these other people, or will that ultimately turn people off?
Right.
I don't know. Of course, the other funny thing with Lies of P, do you guys remember, you were on the show, you probably wouldn't remember this, is that we said that at the end of Lies of P that Walt Disney shows up.
Yeah.
And someone literally thought that was, and left Patreon like in a huff because they thought that we straight up spoiled Lies of P's ending.
That's so rad. I love that. That'd be incredible if Walt Disney was in the game.
That's like a great moment in Last Stand history in my opinion.
Yeah, that's such a good moment, dude. Wow. That's so rad. Holy fuck.
So yeah, it's on my mental list of games to be open to, and if I were to play a Souls game, I think that would be the one.
Okay, this is from KB. Hey gents, do you think we're entering an era where the dude bro shooter can make a comeback? Culturally, it feels like masculinity is treading back into the mainstream, and many of the modern trappings of recent games are being increasingly rejected. Coupled with the shifting political attitudes of Generation Z, could we be approaching a moment where the pendulum swings in a completely different direction as we head into the next generation of gaming? With that in mind, would it be wise for publishers, say Sony for example, to consider reviving franchises like Resistance or Killzone? It feels like there's a growing segment of gamers craving a return to darker, grittier experiences, something with more edge. What say you? Thanks.
Well, for me, I think we do have a lot of the dude bro shooters, and I think that they're in. It might not be exactly what you're looking for, but a lot of boomer shooters are dude bro, silly, Duke Nukem style, like Bombshell and all those like kinds of like they're or Trepang, and like they're like totally ridiculous. Trepang's like a Fear clone, basically,
Yeah.
So I think they exist, but they're not really in the mainstream. It is interesting what you say about the shifting political attitudes of Generation Z, because what I've been learning about just looking at statistics and realize it's like they're the most conservative young generation in a long time. To the point where I didn't even know it was possible. That I didn't know that like things got more conservative, but the next gen, like the kids are like really conservative. It's because they're fucking horrified by everything. I mean, who can blame them, really? So I think that sensibilities are changing, and that probably will play into it. But what I find funny is that like Resistance, not so much, because Resistance is, I guess, ostensibly political because it's about like a global war with aliens, but Killzone is deeply political. So if you want to get away from political stuff, you don't want to bring Killzone back. Killzone's about like these two groups that fucking hate each other so much that they like attack each other's planets and shit, and like erect walls around entire planets so that they don't have to see each other, and they fucking loathe each other. It's actually, I actually think, as I've said ad nauseum, that Killzone works today because it is political, and that they should revive it. And frankly, like at almost Israeli-Palestinian level, like you could get crazy with Killzone, like if you wanted to go into the allegorical route. And I think that's ripe for fucking the picking, personally. So I don't look at that as like the apolitical bro shooter. Resistance, maybe a little more, but even like we look at Call of Duty as bro shooters, and like the Call of Duties no one gives a shit about the lore really, but it's like the lore is political.
Yeah.
Like I think wasn't I fighting like in a blown out White House in one of them? I mean, which was pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
So what you're really talking about is like Matt Hazard or something. Cause even it's like Vanquish. It's like Vanquish is political. Gears of War is political. Halo is deeply political and religious. So what are we specifically looking for? I highly recommend KB, you go look at some of the bro shooter style boomer shooters, because Proteus and things like that. You'll really like them, I think. And they're so fun. They're so good.
Yeah.
What,
all right.
You said it, but we're getting the literal return of the bro shooter in Gears of War.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the bro shooter,
baby.
Right, yeah, but you're absolutely right. But yet, Locke, it's so funny because we look at that just as it's like Gears of War is deeply political, you know, and it's so funny that people are like, yeah, it's just like this. It's this action movie style thing, and I'm like, yeah, it is. I guess, you know, but I love the term bro shooter. It's a great, it was a great all-encompassing term. We all understood what it meant.
Yeah. All right, final writing here from Zugdar. One quick comment about game pricing discussions that I think gets overlooked. I would think the shift to the majority of sales being digital is doing a fair amount of work and increasing the revenue per unit compared to the majority of physical sales 5 to 10 years ago. It's not covering all the expanded expenses of production by any means, but a variable that is rarely considered.
Certainly. No doubt. Margins aren't what you think. I mean, I think manufacturing the game is one thing. Like what the MSRP is another thing. Like I know how much games are to cost to make, and they're not expensive to make, like physically, because we do it. And I can only imagine the rates you get if you're publishing 500,000 or whatever, as opposed to 1,000 or 2,000. They'll be like, oh yeah, I think we'll give you a special rate for that. So the margins aren't huge, but it's certainly something. But you said it, Zugdar, who I think I saw at Mos Eisley Cantina in Tatooine at some point. You said it that it's still not keeping up with its chip damage towards the overall increase in cost that is endemic to all these games and getting them out the door. So you're absolutely right. And it isn't considered, but I wouldn't. It's unfortunate that it's not enough to offset things either. It's a bummer. And I still maintain that the bigger bummer is that Sony can't kind of play both sides against the middle by charging less for digital games because they can't alienate their physical partners yet.
Right. Not yet.
I think the day is becoming closer when they're not going to care. But because that will truly kill it. I think that will truly kill the demand for physical games. And you'll always be able to buy physical games, I think. And I think they'll always do runs of them, but you're not going to get that's going to be a thing you have to do online at some point, and limited run and all the rest.
Yeah. I was thinking of Mos Eisley Cantina now. Just like the butt mouth guy, dude. On Luke.
Walrus Man?
Gets his arm chopped off. That's good shit, dude. Man. Star Wars used to be so sick, dude.
His name was like Pun. I used to know his name. That was his name. Was like
Baba?
I was gonna say Ponba or whatever. Yeah, Ponda Baba. Yeah. Jesus Christ!
Hey, it's Ponda Baba.
I have the most useless.
AKA Walrus Man. Yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, Star Wars trivia that doesn't matter at all. Yeah, and you have like expanded universe probably knowledge too from the books and shit.
Yeah, but it's the fake expanded universe now because they're that's Legends. It's like thanks for wasting thousands of dollars and my entire childhood. That was awesome.
Thanks for erasing that real quick.
It's great. Thanks for that.
Appreciate that.
But at least I was a proficient reader, I guess. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Man, Mos Eisley Cantina is so cool, dude.
Hell yeah.
Good shit. Have you been to the Star Wars lands at all, Colin, at like Disneyland?
No.
Dude, the cantina though, man. It's pretty tight.
I'm sure it's really cool. The Disney, what do they call the Imagineers or whatever? Those guys are fucking crazy. Talented.
Yeah, they are insane.
You should bring Dustin. You guys should go get a drink of blue titty milk.
Yeah. They do have blue milk there. That's not an alcoholic, but they have other alcoholic stuff there. Jedi Mind Trick, I remember, was good. That was a good one.
And it's probably It's probably like $37.
Yeah, Disney price. Yeah, they'll fuck you over big time.
That's like something. It's like something so crazy that you can't even believe that they would
Yeah.
Say it with a straight face, but you'll pay it.
But you're
anyway.
just there. You're in the cantina. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck. Got to get one at least. All right. That's it. Colin, Lockmort, thank you both for joining me. Fun episode. Love
Thank
chatting with both of you.
Thank you for inviting me. Good to see you. Good to see you, Lockmort. Hope you're well. Hope your health is mending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome to
How's
see you
the
guys.
no smoking going?
It's still going. I want one so bad, but it's still going. I'm keeping strong. So
Good.
Good for you.
we're not doing it. But
Yeah,
thank
good
you
man.
both. It was awesome. Lovely to see you again. Awesome.
I saw
Yeah,
a
awesome.
comment because we were on Constellation and someone was like, I love that Colin talked about how good smoking is after Locke just went into, and I was like, dude, I wasn't talking about smoking cigarettes. I was talking about smoking weed. These are two different things. Like,
Yeah.
I think you could still smoke weed and be cigarette free, and I would still count. You know, I'm not saying that you should do that. But in other words,
you
I'm
should have told
talking-
me that.
Oh, never mind. Do what your doctor said you should do. I'm not a
Do what your
doctor.
doctor says. Not us. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you next episode. Take care and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.